Welcome to Manhwa Empire Recap, your go-to channel for manhwa stories. Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and join us on our journey through the pages of adventures. Get ready for the magic of Manhua like never before. Enjoy watching. Miss Sia's father was apologizing to Lin Chuan's father. He was taking all the blame for what had happened, saying it was all his fault. Poor Mr. Lin was tearing up because he knew he would not be able to survive, so he asked Mr. LV instead to get the stuffed bear he bought as a birthday present to his son and give it to him. He instructed him that if he would make it out alive, he had to give it to his son, Lin Chuan, for him. Miss Sia recalled their times together when they were a kid and used to be best friends. They even spent high school years together, and they both thought that their friendship would last forever no matter what happened. Unfortunately, after they entered college, they became so busy and occupied with their own matters. And from that day, they started drifting apart from each other. Further and further as days went by, they became what they are now. Initially, Miss Sia thought of taking advantage of the mission to reconcile their friendship, but it seems like he doesn't really agree with the way she handles things. Menkeo was about to say something about Lin Chuan, but Miss Sia immediately stopped him, saying that he doesn't have to put in a good word for him. She then explained the reason why Lin Chuan once called her aggressive and unscrupulous, but she assured Menkeo that she never meant things to be that way. She had to do it. On the other hand, Menkeo was getting a bit confused about why Miss Sia was feeling that way, knowing that she was still one of the LVS. But who cares if she is an LV? It is true that her grandfather founded the dynasty group, but many factions have formed over the years, so the LVS do not hold sole control over the group anymore. Even within the LV family, they have elders and senior relatives who are hungry for power. Also, there are third-generation members of the LV family who share a similar background as her. Miss Sia was regarded by everyone as a thorn in their eyes since she was the best among the third generation. To outsiders, as a sign of a wealthy and influential family. She may appear as if she was living a luxurious life, but behind her pretty face was all the hardships she had to endure all along. Despite everything that she had done and achieved, Lin Chuan, whom she referred to as their weeping slayer, still doesn't understand her at all. She revealed to Menkeo that even though Lin Chuan can slay monsters as easily as slicing a vegetable, he has the softest heart, and he was always been a crybaby since young. After saying that, he asked Menkeo about what the weeping slayer said about her to him. She specifically asked if he tried to discourage him not to participate in the mission. Menkeo immediately shook his head to disagree. Then he told her that Lin Chuan only told him that she was a good person. However, it appeared that Miss LV wasn't entirely pleased with Lin Chuan describing her as a good person to Menkeo. Disappointed with what she discovered, she dropped the solution, pondering the years of friendship and realizing that she was merely regarded as a good person. Lin Chuan, who was being treated by Xiaojia, seemed to overhear the conversation between Miss Sia and Menkeo and noticed how disappointed she was. However, he had nothing to do about it, rather than saying sorry to Miss Sia in his mind. They were not from the same world after all. Subsequently, Miss Sia let out a sigh, as though she could sense the regret in Lin Chuan's words. Since the ambience was getting sadder talking about her unhappy story, Miss Sia suggested talking about Menkeo. She then asked her if he had ever wanted to join Dynasty. Suddenly, Menkeo found himself bewildered once more. He had initially believed their conversation was centered on helping Miss Sia mend her relationship with Lin Chuan. He then told Miss Sia that it never crossed her mind, but Miss Sia suggested that he should think about it now, given that he was also an Exalta with highly developed brain cells. She then proceeded to tell him how early the other students were starting to interact with other Exalta teams that would grant them additional resources and training. This is the perfect opportunity for ambitious young adults to make their mark and build up their careers. Miss Sia thinks that spending 4 years in an ivory tower is too wasteful of his talents. She then stood up and she told Menkeo that she would be frank with him this time. The truth is, she had always wanted to recruit Menkeo ever since she saw his mental aptitude test results, and his performance during this mission proved her right. Extending her hand, she made a persuasive gesture to Menkeo, urging him to trust her. She also assured him of a long-term contract that seemed impossible to decline. Menkeo gazed at her outstretched hand, contemplating the decision of whether to accept it or not. In his previous life, Dynasty still stood strong after the battle with the beasts. They are definitely a force to be reckoned with that he can rely on for opportunity and benefits. However, he cannot remember a woman there named Miss Elvisia in Dynasky's top management. He then thinks of the possible scenarios that might happen if he helps Miss Seer rise to the top, which are mostly positive things. However, he just thanked her and said that he would consider it. For Miss Sia though, usually, people who say those lines already decided against something. Miss Sia became a bit aggressive, telling Menkeo that she already did her research about him. She knew he was working with persons who could not offer him more than what she could. Despite the unease settling within him, Menkeo chose to adhere to what his instructor told him, which is to follow Lin Chuan's guidance no matter what. In response to his words, Miss Sia fixed her gaze directly on Menkeo, almost as if she continued to persuade him, this time utilizing the intensity of her eyes. And then she let him go. She also praised him for being too cautious despite being so talented. She also told him that they are friends now, so he could ask her for help if he needed something. Awkwardly, Menkeo bid farewell to Miss LV, who was already walking away to take a rest since there was still a long journey ahead of them after all. But after a few seconds, Miss Sia looked back at Menkeo, which made him wonder. Afterward, she retrieved something from her dress and requested that Menkeo pass it on to Lin Chuan on her behalf. It was a blood chalcedony. It has the ability to stimulate cellular activity and promote the healing of wounds and others. With a hint of reluctance, she instructed Menkeo to relay to Lin Chuan the message to hold on to the item when he was in the process of healing himself. However, her demeanor shifted abruptly to fury when Menkeo simply responded with an "oh" to her request. She thinks that he really wants to annoy her. There is a theory going around in the life form. They said that crystals like the one he was holding were actually made from the remains of powerful, intelligent beings. Following that theory, Menkeo thinks that if that was the fossil of an ancient being, then the veins of crystals are the blood veins of that ancient being. He then figured out that the hallucinations that humans see under the influence of the crystal resonance may be the murmurings of a spirit from ancient times. The path of human civilization's rapid advancement has always been paved by the corpses of billions. It is the same whether on Earth or in the Ultramention. So, no matter how many sacrifices lie ahead, he reassures himself that he will march forward for the sake of Draken City. Caught in contemplation, Menkeo was approached by Professor Yi, who was curious about his deep thoughts, and asked him about his intended destination as she passed by. Foolishly glancing back at Professor Yi, Menkeo admitted that he had been lost in thought and distracted by something else. Professor Yi had a clue why Menkeo was suddenly acting weird. She instead told him that they were getting more visible traces of the bloodmark Roselle. She also asked him to be careful. Menkeo expressed his gratitude to the professor, then he explained that he needed to continue on his way as he had something to deliver to Lin Chuan. Professor Yi was relieved that Menkeo had not entirely lost his sanity under the influence of the crystal resonance after their short conversation. Menkeo finally reached Lin Chuan. He called his attention as soon as he saw him. Lin Chuan asked him to sit down, then Menkeo told him that Miss Sia asked him to give the blood chalcedony to him. He also told him her message to hold it whenever he heals himself. Suddenly, Lin Chuan removed the bandage that covered his wound, leaving Menkeo taken aback by his unexpected action. To clear things up, he immediately explained to him that it is better to leave the wound uncovered when healing using blood chalcedony, otherwise it may cause irreparable damage. Menkeo wondered what kind of irreparable damage he was talking about, so he explained that it would completely fuse with the wound at the molecular level. As he listened to Lin Chuan, Menkeo couldn't help but vividly imagine the gruesome and painful nature of the wound might be saying it was no joke. Because of that, Menkeo told Lin Chuan not to worry, and then placed blood chalcedony near the wound. Almost immediately, the blood chalcedony went to work, and the wounds began to heal rapidly, showcasing its remarkable effectiveness. Within a mere matter of minutes, the wound underwent a miraculous transformation, fully healing as the opening sealed itself shut. On the other hand, they noticed that Miss Sia was talking with the other members. They then think that maybe she was planning to push the departure time ahead. Miss Sia knew that it was an emergency operation and each of them had already taken a lot of risks. Then she started giving her promises to them, which was a promise that if any of them didn't get out of there alive, she would pay 3 times the agreed compensation. She would also personally cover the cost of the Ruby Jade they deserve and compensate their families with twice the amount. She then admitted that she might have been stubbornly persistent, but she would continue to lead the charge and would never give up for the sake of having a better, brighter future for them. Convinced by Miss Sia's persuasive words, Wan Dao made a resolute statement declaring his commitment and expressing that he was fully on board. All of them ended up cheering for Miss LV and her hopes to achieve their common goals. Meanwhile, Lin Chuan, who was just watching them from afar, thinks that Miss LV was indeed just like her father. Meng Keo realized that that was the second time Lin Chuan mentioned Miss LV and her father's similarities. He wondered what was beneath those words, and so he asked him so. However, Lin Chuan decided not to explain himself for saying that. All of a sudden, Lin Chuan came to ask what they were talking about earlier. Meng Keo told him that Miss LV gave her a dagger to thank him for saving her life. He also told him that she asked her what he thought of her and even tried to persuade him to join Dynasty. Lin Chuan chuckles at Meng Keo's revelations, and then he asks him if he was smitten by her. Meng Keo vehemently defended himself, asserting that he would never be smitten by a woman, even her. In his conviction, he declared it an impossibility. However, a sudden realization struck him, and he acknowledged that his words might have come across in a way that sounded quite inappropriate. He then became more defensive and tried to explain himself, more saying that he was into women, but not Miss LV. Besides, he turned down her invitation. Lin Chuan wondered why he turned down that offer. It was the dream of every Exalted to get a job at Dynasty. In fact, it was not easy to come by an offer. Before delving into the reasons, Meng Keo asked him for assurance that he could be honest and share the true reasons behind his refusal. The truth is that Meng Keo feels like there is something going on between Lin Chuan and Miss LV. It almost feels like the two of them may have had a melodramatic love-hate relationship full of intense passion. But for some reason, they had to part ways. And since she cannot have Lin Chuan anymore, he feels like she is trying to have him as Lin Chuan's replacement. With that, he concluded that he was a hot-blooded young man with great ambitions, but he would not let Miss LV come between them and ruin their brotherly bond. On the other hand, it seems like Lin Chuan was cringing to what Meng Keo was saying, and Meng Keo noticed he truly was cringing. In that instant, Lin Chuan told Meng Keo that he was overthinking it. He then made it clear that he and Miss Sia were just friends, and that she would never take him as his replacement. On the flip side, Meng Keo asked him why he thought she would never do that happen. In a rather peculiar response, Lin Chuan chose not to address the question and instead fetched a mirror to indulge in admiring his own reflection, showing off his handsomeness to him. Recognizing Lin Chuan's jest, Meng Keo played along by shielding his eyes, pretending to protect himself from the overwhelming sight of Lin Chuan's perceived handsomeness. At last, Lin Chuan told Meng Keo that after all, it was still his decision to make, and that he would give him his full support no matter what he would choose in the end. Meng Keo asked him what suggestions he would have for him if in case he indeed joined the Dynasty. However, instead of answering the question, Lin Chuan just stood up and asked Meng Keo if he wanted to hear they became such good friends, which he already knew. Lin Chuan was delighted that he already knew that his father saved Miss Sia's father before, but that is not all. There is still more to tell, expressed Lin Chuan. Before his death, Lin Chuan's father was an ordinary miner working for Dynasty Mining Company. He didn't possess any extraordinary skills and was illiterate. His only strength was being hardworking, tough, and strong, which he used to support him along with his 4 other siblings. His arms also became extremely thick and strong due to the radiation from the crystal veins in the mine. At that time, Alessia's father had just been tasked with taking care of the mining company and was in charge of managing the operations of his father's sector. Her father had exceptional talent and was a top-notch prospector. By relying on his experience and intuition, her father soon discovered a new vein near the mining site he managed. The new vein may have contained rich energy crystals sandwiched between 2 mining areas. Reporting the discovery to higher-ups would cause them to face endless bureaucratic red tape. To avoid unnecessary compilation, her father organized a survey team to secretly map out the vein. His father was one of the team members to do that specific task. At that time, his father had been working endlessly and hadn't been home in months. He promised him he would come back on his birthday though. He even got a present for him. A second-hand teddy bear from the Earth era. However, they were attacked by a horde of super beasts. They had no choice but to fight against them even though they seemed outnumbered. The intense battle caused a phenomenon known as crystal resonance, and the resulting energy surge caused the mine tunnel to collapse. In a surprising twist of fate, the lone survivor of that incident turned out to be Miss Sia's father. On the other hand, the only remnant of his father was a teddy bear, a saddening reminder of the tragic event. The public was immediately snatched by the publicity made by the heir of a wealthy family, LV Fanghui. He remembers the birthday present that an ordinary miner left to his son during those moments of danger. When the news of this spread, LV Fanghui immediately won the general public's favor. Even the dynasty benefited from his good publicity. Although almost the whole mining team was wiped out, they managed to complete the mission. As a result, LV Fanghui was granted priority mining rights. With his down-to-earth public image and the priority mining rights to a whole mining vein, LV Fanghui's career rose rapidly, and he became the general manager of the mining industry. Behind all the achievements of her father, his father, on the other hand, would never come home ever again. In a single blink of an eye, he and his 4 other siblings were left on their own. In those few years, her father had been very kind toward him and his family. Actually, he can say that without them, there would be no weeping slayer walking the earth. But still, the pain of losing a father is unforgettable. As he grew older and learned more about them, his emotions toward Elvisia and her father became increasingly complicated. Meng Keo noticed the unusual glow in Lin's eyes. Lin Chuan explained that humans are not rational animals. He knew it was wrong, but he could not get himself to interact with her father, or even her like back when they were children. He didn't know how to face her, which is why he avoided her for several years until that moment. He thought he could improve their relationship, however. Seeing how she handles things to achieve her goals makes him wonder if her father did the same and ultimately brought harm to everyone involved. Hearing all that Lin Chuan said, Meng Keo could not help but wonder whether he was just affected by the magnetic energy, so he asked him to take a rest for a while. Lin Chuan comprehended Meng Keo's unspoken thoughts. In response, he affectionately patted Meng Keo's head, conveying reassurance that everything was all right. Following the gesture, Lin Chuan let out a deep sigh before resuming his speech. He told him that he was just saying those stories to remind him that his life belongs to himself and his family, and that no one else is worth sacrificing his life for. Meng Keo understood what Lin Chuan was trying to say, so he assured him that he joined that expedition not to sacrifice his life, but to change the situation of the Northern Front. He also told him that he had a little concern over how many benefits Miss LV would gain from that. All he wanted was to end the extreme weather on Starcrush Lake and Tombstone Forest. Having uttered those words, Lin Chuan fixed his gaze on Meng Keo for an extended period, causing Meng Keo to wonder if he had unintentionally said something wrong. Lin Chuan shifted his gaze away from Meng Keo and began absent-mindedly scratching his forehead. After that, Lin Chuan suddenly erupted into uncontrollable laughter. The abrupt shift caught Meng Keo by surprise. Curious, Meng Keo found himself wondering about the source of Lin Chuan's sudden burst of laughter. Lin Chuan's laughter didn't go unnoticed, drawing the attention of Miss Sia, who became equally curious about the cause behind his sudden amusement. Realizing the attention he had drawn, Lin Chuan ceased his laughter and proceeded to explain something to Meng Keo. He told him that he should never fight for his fellow countrymen, humanity, or even for civilization. He said that he would rather fight for the concrete interests of someone like LV Sayoi than his countrymen, and he was saying it from the bottom of his heart. Perplexed, Meng Keo couldn't help but be curious about why Lin Chuan had made such a statement. Without hesitation, Lin Chuan explained that he said all those things because, for him, there is no such thing as human civilization or humanity. Following his profound statement, Lin Chuan gestured towards the mushroom forest, questioning Meng Keo if he noticed the monsters in there. Clueless of what Lin Chuan was trying to say, Meng Keo confirmed that he had indeed observed a variety of monsters in the gargoyle forest. However, Lin Chuan disagreed with him, saying that there were no monsters, there were only insects, praying mantises, lizards, venomous snakes, spiders, and mushrooms. Meng Keo, filled with curiosity, couldn't help but wonder why Lin Chuan would make such a statement, given the evident presence of monsters in the area. He then started to do an analogy using a snake and a lizard. The snake wanted the lizard to sacrifice himself by jumping into the snake's mouth, so the snake would be able to kill more humans. The snake was luring the lizard to do as he said for the sake of millions of fellow monsters. The lizard seemed to be clueless about what he was going to do or what he should do. At this point, he then asked Manhwa if he thought the lizard would trust the snake. And also at that very moment, while listening to him, Manhwa was certain that there was something off with Lin Chuan's logic and emotion. Lin Chuan then answered his own question, saying that the lizard would never believe the snake, no matter how stupid it is. Lizards are lizards, and snakes are snakes. Every species has their own interest, and they may even be natural enemies. Lin Chuan continued saying things like these. He even told him that for the razor hogs, humans are far less scary than the diamond hyddragons who devoured them countless times already. Even if they joined forces to eliminate humans with the diamond hyddragons, would they stop eating them? After all, the wisest move the razor hogs could do was to show a fearless and decisive attitude without showing the slightest bit of hesitation. And just like the hogs, he wanted Manhwa to only fight for himself, or at most for the same species as him, but never for those insects or snakes that are collectively called monsters. Appearing as if he had lost his sanity, Lin Chuan finally revealed to Manhwa that in reality, there were no monsters. He reiterated the statement, emphasizing the words as if determined to make Manhwa fully grasp the concept. Sensing the need to dispel the tension, Manhwa raised his hands and advised Lin to calm down, saying that comparing humans to monsters in such a manner might not be appropriate. After all, humans are different from those monsters. They have the same appearance, speak the same language, and are able to understand each other. If in his logic Manhwa was a razor hog, then everyone in Draken was also a razor hog. Everyone should fight side by side and move forward hand in hand. Nevertheless, Lin Chuan remained steadfast in his perspective, seemingly unaffected by Manhwa's viewpoint. At some point, it seemed like Lin Chuan was having a headache remembering the time after his father passed away and got invited to the LV family to celebrate their birthday. He would never forget that small swimming pool that was twice the size of his kitchen and bathroom combined. The thing is, the pool was not meant for humans to use. It was for their dogs. It was for two dogs that eat only the most tender razor hog loins. Lin Chuan could not help but laugh out of envy because neither he nor any of his family members 8 generations up have ever eaten such high grades of meat. That birthday celebration was an absolute dream for anyone who witnessed it. However, by the time he was sent back home after the celebration ended, he suddenly realized the extent of the problem they all were facing. At his very young age, he couldn't shake the feeling that either he or Miss Sia might not be human. Manhwa suddenly remembered his sister, the time Lin Chuan told him that laws are toys for the rich and that poor people can only depend on themselves. He thinks of the man who handled the letter to his sister, showing how their father signed up for the contract that eliminated them as the one responsible for their father's misfortune. Same as Lin Chuan, they were both young and had nothing to do with the situation they were currently in, but to go wherever the flow moved them and wait for what would happen next. Even he thought too that way in his past life. Then he questioned himself, were they really the same as those high-class people? The thought never changed until that moment happened. All of a sudden, Lin Chuan seized Manhwa, yanking him away from his profound contemplations. After the sudden interruption, Lin Chuan chuckled lightly, expressing confidence that Manhwa would comprehend his perspective. However, Manhwa, in contrast, contemplated the grim possibility that if Draken were to be destroyed, both he and Lin Chuan would perish, leading to the extinction of humanity. Upon releasing Manhwa from his grip, Lin Chuan remarked that it was good for Manhwa to recognize his true peers, like him, at an early stage, and that he would never harm him. Manhwa conveyed to Lin Chuan that he did indeed trust him. This declaration brought a profound sense of happiness and relief to Lin Chuan. Subsequently, Lin Chuan returned the blood chalcedony given to him by Miss Sia, instructing Manhwa to conceal it somewhere on his body without disclosing he had it to Miss Sia. Uncertain about whether to accept or not, Manhwa hesitated, considering that Miss Sia had specifically instructed him to hand the chalcedony crystal to Lin Chuan. Lin Chuan, employing persuasion, convinced Manhwa that he needed the blood chalcedony more since he was almost fully healed and already in the sky stage. Acknowledging Manhwa's perspective, Lin Chuan instructed him once more, emphasizing the importance of never letting Miss Sia see him using the chalcedony crystal. Manhwa then asked him if he really thought he would have to use it in the future. Lin Chuan stared at him for a moment before answering his question. Lin Chuan elaborated on his reasoning, explaining to Manhwa that being prepared was always the best since danger lurked around every corner. In conclusion, Lin Chuan requested Meng Keo to return to the group with him, as Miss Sia might summon them shortly. It became apparent that Lin Chuan had been genuinely influenced by the magnetic field interference, leading him to disclose more information to Meng Keo than intended. Now, all he hoped for was Meng Keo's discretion in keeping the information to himself. All of a sudden, Meng Keo called him back. Meng Keo then agreed to all Lin Chuan had told him. While acknowledging the multitude of issues in Draken, he highlighted two specific points that stood out and deserved affirmation. First is that the strong ones from prestigious families earned their resources by putting their lives on the line in the war, fighting monsters, and not through theft or robbery. Second, everyone has equal chances to make a name for themselves as long as they have the skills and are willing to work hard. However, Lin Chuan could not agree with what Meng Keo said. He instead told him that he would slowly discover for himself what those powerful families did in the past. For Meng Keo's second point, Lin Chuan asked him to look at himself and ask himself if he is still sure that everyone has an equal chance, just like what he said. In his case, he was able to stand out because of his father's death, which drew LV Fanghui's attention and afforded him much resource support. Then he questioned Meng Keo if he thought he could still be successful based only on his abilities and hard work, and not on the mysterious old Sparky who taught him secretly. In the end, Meng Keo conceded, admitting that Lin Chuan was right. He recognized that without luck, they might never have the opportunity to change their destiny. Lin Chuan has been thinking about it, their fights, their struggles. It seems like those don't mean anything, really. Even if they fight for their whole life, in the end, the child of a razor hod will always be a razor hog. Then he asked Meng Keo what was the point of it all then. Meng Keo exclaimed that it indeed meant something. He reiterated to Lin Chuan that their fights held significance and meaning. Meng Keo continued explaining that since they were constantly under attack from those monsters, they needed to allocate the resources to the stronger individuals. And because resources were limited, it was impossible for Draken to meet everyone's basic needs. Meng Keo believed that when they had eliminated all the monsters that threatened Draken, when Earth's civilization had spread to every corner of the Altermention, which is when he believed that all their problems would be solved. He imagined that the lives of ordinary people would become better and Draken City would become more prosperous, powerful, and fair. He believes that at that time, people will once again experience the beauty and glory of Earth. People will not be like the Razor Hog and Diamond High Dragon anymore, but instead an Earthling. After Meng Keo delivered a heartfelt speech, Lin Chuan sighed, perhaps reflecting on the weight of their situation, and had a breath of relief. He then admitted that Meng Keo was right and acknowledged that perhaps he tended to overthink things due to spending an extensive amount of time in the wilderness. Expressing gratitude, Lin Chuan thanked Meng Keo for what he said, offering his hand, acknowledging that it had lifted his spirits. Meng Keo humbly dismissed the gratitude, telling Lin Chuan not to mention it. They sealed their camaraderie with a handshake, recognizing each other as comrades. In shared laughter, Lin Chuan felt a warm invitation from Meng Keo to visit more frequently, fostering a newfound connection between them. After the laughter subsided, Lin Chuan earnestly conveyed that he required a favor from Meng Keo, underscoring a shift in their interaction. Lin Chuan's only request to Meng Keo was simple yet profound: to prioritize self-care and resist succumbing to the demands of others, ensuring he wouldn't be worked to exhaustion. All of a sudden, Miss Sia interrupted everyone from what they were doing, telling them that the rest time was over and it was time to get back to the mission. Resuming their quest, the team delves back into the dark cave, determinedly searching for the elusive treasure that awaited them in the shadows, not noticing the monster lurking behind. Aware of the peril in the dark surroundings, Wan Dao instructed Xiao Jia to lead the way, taking on the role of a scout to ensure the team's safety as they advanced. Without hesitation, Xiao Jian followed Wan Dao's command, dashing ahead to inspect the area, prompting the team to pause and await his findings before proceeding. Meanwhile, Meng Keo, filled with concern, feared for Xiao Jia's well-being. He was convinced that the darkness might necessitate backup to ensure his safety in the unknown terrain. Lin promptly scolded Meng Keo, reminding him of their agreement and emphasizing that his sole task was to harvest resources from the defeated monsters, not to meddle with anyone else's danger. Observing Lin Chuan's evident regard for Meng Keo, Miss Sia pondered whether winning over Meng Keo could potentially alleviate the tension between her and Lin Chuan. Suddenly, a resounding noise echoed through the cave, jolting the team into heightened alertness as they strained to identify the source of the disturbance. Eager for answers, Miss Sia anxiously questioned whether the echoing sound originated from gunfire or if it signaled the presence of the global group they were pursuing. Swiftly, Wan Dao directed Miss Sia to remain in place, assuring her that the team would take charge and manage the unfolding situation. Nevertheless, Miss Sia implored Lin Chuan to join her, concerned that if her suspicions were correct, Wan Dao and his group might be ill-equipped to handle the situation on their own. Lin Chuan swiftly agreed to accompany her, recognizing the potential gravity of the situation at hand. Amidst the ongoing deliberation, Wan Dao's team faced a fierce confrontation with another group of men, the cavern echoing with the sounds of a high-stakes struggle for dominance. In a tense moment, a silent threat loomed as an unknown man attempted to harm Miss Sia without a sound. Fortuitously, Mankeo's heightened senses detected an ominous presence nearby. With swift reflexes, he unsheathed his sword, poised to defend Miss Sia from the lurking threat. The clash of swords echoed as the assailant launched an attack, and Mankeo skillfully defended himself, their blades colliding in a tense struggle for control. As the confrontation momentarily halted, Mankeo recognized the man's face, revealing him to be Qin Hu also remembered Mankeo. Curious, Mankeo inquired about Qin Hu's unexpected presence underground, questioning why he chose to be down there when there was seemingly plenty to harvest above ground. A sense of unease gripped Qin Hu as Mankeo deliberately provoked him. His anger for him was aggravated more by what Mankeo had done to him before. Consumed by anger, Qin Hu unleashed a forceful attack on Mankeo driven by his intense emotions, hoping to kill him in an instant. Surprisingly, Mankeo seemed stronger than him, despite Qin Hu's higher 3-star energy fusion ranking, while Mankeo with only a 1-star energy mark. Exerting his strength, Mankeo forcefully pushed Qin Hu away, creating a brief respite in the heated confrontation between the two. Qin Hu believed that he could definitely kill Mankeo if he would just go all out. However, he was hesitating to do it because of Mankeo's dagger. He thinks that he could fight back fiercely before dying and might have some hidden tricks up his sleeve. Before Qin Hu could launch another attack on Mankeo, he noticed Lin Chuan standing beside him. His mere presence instilled a sense of terror in Qin Hu already. Lin Chuan was tearing up as he asked Mankeo if he needed his aid. Upon realizing that Lin Chuan was a sky stage fighter, Qin Hu hesitated to engage in further combat, recognizing the significant difference in their martial prowess. Acknowledging the formidable presence of Lin Chuan, Qin Hu chose to retreat for his own safety. He told Mankeo he should be grateful for having a sky stage fighter on his side. With a chuckle, Mankeo playfully cautioned Qin Hu that any further use of the term rascal would result in the swift demise of R3. He will make sure no one in Draken will hear R3 again. Qin Hu felt a twinge of nervousness with Mankeo's threat and confidence. He wondered when he became so cocky when it was only been a while since they last met each other. Fueled by a mix of nervousness and resentment, Qin Hu hastily retreated, reminiscent of a child seeking refuge with his mother as he warned Mankeo to just wait for his revenge. Curious, Lin Chuan inquired if the man was indeed Qin Hu from the Valiant Saber Squad, a query that Mankeo affirmed with a nod, confirming the identity of their recent adversary. All of a sudden, Miss Sia addressed someone named Shen Yulong and asked him what was the meaning of all that. On a different note, Lin Chuan asked Mankeo to come along and find out what was happening, their curiosity propelling them into action. Shen Yulong's intuition proved correct. He had always had a feeling that someone was sneaking up behind him, and it turns out it was her, Miss LV the Ninth. Shen Yulong is one of the 3rd-generation heirs of the global group controlling family and is 5th in line. Lin Chuan explained who Shen Yulong is to Mankeo, telling him that his status was similar to Miss Sia. They grew up competing against each other, just like what is happening now. LV Seer ranks 9th among her peers. Shen Yulong is mocking her for not having a prominent status within the 3rd generation of the LVs. Suddenly, Shen Yulong told Miss LV he was sorry she was too late. All the crystals and the ores in the cave belonged to him, just like what was written on the sign he put up outside. However, Miss Sia was not easily swayed by his words. If he showed her proof that he had found the Ruby Jade veins, she told him she would leave right away. In a serious tone, Miss Sia emphasized that without concrete evidence, the ultimate victor in the game they were playing is still unknown. Tension escalated between the global group and Miss Sia's team as the leaders engaged in a verbal exchange, tightening the grip of conflict between the two factions. Suddenly, Lin Chuan emerged with the fiery presence of the Fire Phoenix behind him, disrupting the escalating tension and injecting an unexpected element into the confrontation. Lin Chuan's gaze descended upon the global group, showing confidence and implying that his team held an advantageous position in the heightening competition. However, Shen Yulong just smirked as he mocked Miss Sia for even bringing her loyal dog, pertaining to Lin Chuan, which showed how determined she was to get what she wanted. In that instant, Shen Yulong urged Miss Sia to have a fair competition and to let their abilities speak for themselves. Miss Sia agreed to compete fairly, and then she urged him back to follow the rules of prospectors. Whoever discovers the Ruby Jade vein first, the other party will leave voluntarily. As Lin Chuan descended, Miss LV asked him what he thought about the agreement, and Lin Chuan replied that he was not very optimistic. Shen Yulong's people are not weak, and he himself is a sky stage fighter. He worried that he might strike them at the most unexpected moment. Grasping Lin Chuan's concern, Miss Sia acknowledged his sincerity, commenting that such a proposition was indeed in line with Shen Yulong's character. Continuously, Miss Sia explained to other members that they have been caught up with the global group's prospecting team and had a nasty brush with them. She reminded her team to be sharp, that in case those enemies refuse to follow the rules, they must fight back. All members agreed with eagerness to fight along. Meanwhile, Meng Kao asked Brother Lin if they are really going to fight them, and he replied that it's hard to say. Because of what happened, he is unsure that they will be able to move forward together happily. Meng Kao added that they are in the middle of battling the monsters, then how they can fight each other at critical moment. Lin responded that monsters are also at war with humans, but it doesn't stop the diamond high dragons from eating dozens of razor hogs every day. Unconvinced Meng Kao was interrupted by Lin Chuan saying that he should not be worried because even they were in the wilderness without spotlights or cameras, and everyone may reveal their less than perfect side, they were still rational beings. As long as nobody incites strife, they will not attack each other, he added. He also said that Qin Hu from the Valiant Saber Squad has a bone to pack with him, besides Shen Yulong and LV aren't on good terms with each other. He is just worried that Qin Hu may instigate Shen Yulong to launch a surprise attack against them. Meng Kao asked Brother Lin if it is really impossible for them to cooperate and explore together. They can share the mining rights of the Ruby Jade vein. But Brother Lin explained to him that even if they choose to trust each other for the sake of Draken, what about him and Qin Hu? He needs to understand that suspicion is contagious. If one person harbors suspicion and something becomes the spark, it will ignite everyone's suspicions. He already told Meng Kao that he will regret participating in that mission, but Meng Kao is confident that we will not regret it because he believes in humanity. That they can definitely come up with solutions to overcome difficulties even in the darkest of times. Lin Chuan is speechless when suddenly one of their members interrupted and told them that it's time to go. He also added to save the chattings later because they were falling behind the team. As they walked deeper into the cave, the temperature rose noticeably, signaling the presence of magma and adding a heightened sense of heat to their surroundings. Unexpectedly, the temperature plummeted within seconds, causing annoyance among the group as ice crystals formed in the surroundings, creating a sharp contrast to the previous heat. Miss LV turned to Professor Yi and inquired if she had found the way out. Professor Yi replied affirmatively, assuring the group that they were on the right track. Doubtful, Miss LV questioned Professor Yi once more, expressing uncertainty about the chosen path. The tight and impassable terrain made her question if they were indeed on the right track. While she was having difficulty on the challenging path, Miss LV suddenly sensed something that sparked excitement and joy within her. With excitement, Miss LV called for everyone's attention and gladly shared the good news that they were nearing the Ruby Jade vein. Finally overcoming the narrow passage, Miss LV emerged on the other side. To her surprise, they discovered other individuals in the area they had reached. To their astonishment, the global group stood before them, mirroring the surprise felt by Miss Sia's team at the unexpected convergence in the cave. Meng Kao, Lin Chuan, and the others remained calm, while Miss LV herself exhibited visible signs of growing anger at the unexpected encounter with the global group. Expectedly, Miss Sia and Shen Yulong quarreled once again, accusing each other of following their paths, making the tension between the two teams grow more intense. Following the childish quarrel, both leaders recognized the urgency and urged their respective teams to move on, not willing to let the other team gain an advantage in finding the vein. Seeing Miss Sia still annoyed by the encounter with Shen Yulong, Professor Yi gently attempted to soothe her emotions, offering support and understanding amid the tense situation. Upon reaching a cliff, Professor Yi took a moment to examine the terrain, assessing the possibilities and challenges that lay ahead for the team. Having surveyed the surroundings, Miss Sia issued a command for the team to descend with her, indicating a new direction for their exploration. Prepared for the descent, Miss Sia donned her harness, signaling her readiness to jump down the cliff and lead the team to the next phase of their exploration. Finally, she jumped off without hesitation to see what lay down there. Before reaching the bottom, she noticed something below her. The cliff featured a remarkable ice crystal formation in shades of pink, characterized by sharp edges and spikes, creating a visually striking and unique landscape. Miss Sia seemed to be captivated by the mesmerizing ice crystal formation. Following that, she urged everyone to join her down there to collect samples. Professor Yi agreed to her order immediately without hesitations. The ice crystal-like formations gave a really beautiful ambience to the area. Confident in their chances of success, Miss Sia believed that victory was within reach, as long as the collected samples met the required standards. Eager to assess the results, Miss Sia inquired about the concentration of the collected samples, anticipating crucial information for their mission. The staff reported that they had successfully collected the required ore samples, but the concentration of the samples collected did not even surpass 10%. Disappointment clouded Miss Sia's expression as the realization set in the low concentration of the collected samples meant that they had not truly discovered the Ruby Jade vein yet. The staff attempted to offer additional information to comfort Miss Sia, but she interrupted her from doing so. Miss Sia asked everyone not to worry about anything. She still believed that the main vein was still in close proximity, fostering hope for a successful outcome despite the initial setback. Determined to persevere, Miss Sia urged the team to press on, emphasizing that they couldn't afford to fail at this crucial juncture in their mission. On the other hand, Lin Chuan suggested to take a break before continuing the mission. It has been over 30 hours since their encounter with the global group. Lin Chuan believes that they cannot keep going when everyone's nerves have been under high pressure the whole time. The members have been intensely patrolling the area to prevent any surprise attacks from the global group. If they will not rest, they will not have the energy to fight back. Following Lin Chuan's discussion, Miss Sia reluctantly conceded to taking a break, recognizing the wisdom in pausing to reassess their approach. She allowed everyone to have a 3-hour break, and after that, they would depart. Lin Chuan, taking charge, advised Wan Dao to take a break while he handled the situation alone, ensuring that everyone had a chance to rest and recover. Lin Chuan was happy that everyone would get to take a rest as he guarded them in their sleep. Confident in Lin Chuan's capability to handle the situation, Meng Keo felt reassured, believing that with Lin Chuan standing guard, the team could rest without concerns. Meng Keo thinks that with so many merit points, and as long as there is enough energy supply, his survival should not be a problem. He then exchanged some of his merits for basic healing. During his 2-month stay at the East Lake base, he overfulfilled the requirements in the Devil's Challenge chain missions' 2nd and 3rd stages. Although he can claim the rewards at any time, it is better to wait a little longer to have a higher chance of getting the mission's special rewards. During the rest period, Meng Keo experienced a sense of well-being as he focused on healing and recuperating from any strains or injuries, taking advantage of the break to rejuvenate. Amidst the collective rest, including Lin Chuan, a man quietly and suspiciously crept around, raising questions about her intentions during the team's break. Silently, the man stealthily approached the area where Miss Sia was sleeping. With stealth, the man opened the box resting next to Miss Sia. He then grabbed the tablet inside the box slowly to avoid making any sound. After securing the tablet, the man swiftly ran toward the narrow opening they passed earlier, skillfully sneaking away without anyone in the team noticing the actions he had taken. Lin Chuan's eyes widened with a heightened sense of awareness, sensing that something was amiss, signaling a realization that all might not be as it seemed. He quickly woke up Wan Dao with a sense of urgency, which made him think that an enemy was attacking them. He then explained to Wan Dao that he saw someone run away and asked him to protect the other because he would go after the man who ran. In response to Lin Chuan's directive, Wan Dao swiftly commanded the Razor Squad to assume a defensive formation and to be ready for potential challenges or threats. Reacting to the suspicious events, Miss Sia urged everyone to inspect their equipment and partners, striving to identify the culprit who had run away with the tablet. A staff member suggested that Hu Peng might be the one who ran away with the tablet, noting his absence during the inspection. Another one was wondering if he was a traitor. Concerned by the situation, Meng Ko questioned Miss Sia about the potential loss of something crucial. Miss Sia, in response, inspected her things to identify any missing items. To her astonishment, Miss Sia discovered that her terminal, containing crucial data on the ore vein, was missing. The realization heightened the urgency to recover the device promptly. Concerned by the missing terminal, Professor Yi speculated that Hu Peng might have stolen their data and fled, entertaining the possibility of him aligning with the global group. Fueling the suspicion, another team member shared a long-standing belief that Hu Peng was unreliable. He even thought that he might be spying on them for the global group. On the other hand, Miss Sia took the blame for what had happened since she was the one who chose him. She then asked everyone to be ready to depart once Lin Chuan came back. Meng Ko agreed with Miss Sia, emphasizing that if Lin Chuan could capture Hu Peng and retrieve the missing data, everything would be resolved. All of a sudden, Lin Chuan returned, urging Miss Sia to leave immediately as he discovered people in the creek where they entered, signaling potential threats to their safety. Lin Chuan thinks that they are from the global group. As he spoke, he realized the paleness on everyone's faces, so he asked them if they lost something important. Miss Sia then told him that it was Hu Peng who ran away with the tablet that they used to record the exploration route and data. Lin Chuan immediately understood that what Miss Sia suggested was that Hu Peng was a spy hired by the global group, which made him disappointed at him and himself. For a moment, Miss Sia stopped talking and thought of a strategy. Seeking reassurance, Miss Sia turned to Professor Yi and inquired whether there was a backup or copy of all the information from her missing tablet, and Professor Yi looked for it quickly. She was aware that Shen Yulong was fond of playing such petty tricks, but that will not stop her from continuing. She then looks for the data on Professor Yi's tablet. In a tense atmosphere, the team waited anxiously as Miss Sia meticulously navigated the tablet. All of a sudden, Miss Sia's face started to change. There was a light that was slowly emerging. As she continued navigating the tablet, the light coming from it also brightened more and became more vivid. An aura of focused determination surrounded her, giving the impression that she was tapping into some latent power within. The mysterious aura continued circling around her body. Finally, she announced to everyone that it was here. She told everyone that if they were going to dig downward from where they would get closer to the Ruby Jade vein even faster than their original plan. The team immediately responded to her with agreement, and then they started digging right away. Miss Sia was aware the journey ahead may be very dangerous, and although they have found a faster route, Yulong might still be able to get ahead of them. Then she told Lin Chuan that he was the only one she trusted among all of them, and so she entrusted him with the safety of the team. Lin Chuan then assured her that she could definitely trust her in that aspect. Meanwhile, the team skillfully used their tools to create a hole in the entrance of the passage. Finally, the team immediately informed Miss Sia as they successfully opened the passage, ready to embark on their journey. Stepping forward with determination, Lin Chuan volunteered to scout the path ahead, while he tasked Wan Dao and his men to cover the rear. Wan Dao then agreed to do as Lin Chuan said. On the other hand, Meng Ko could not help but think that he missed something since things were going too smoothly, which made him suspicious. All of a sudden, the team heard a signal from Lin Chuan saying that he found the mining team's runes and that it was the exit. He then ordered everyone to keep up with his pace and avoid getting separated from the team. At that moment, as Lin Chuan took one more step, the ground beneath him started to creak. Because of that, he warned everyone to stay alert since the rocks there seemed to be a bit loose. He also advised them to not get too close to the edge. Even though the team discovered that they reached a dead end, Lin Chuan still advised everyone to stay calm. Miss Sia, on the other hand, took a moment to just stare at the cliff for some time. Suddenly, excitement surged within her as she sensed a powerful energy reaction below the cliff. She speculated that the Ruby Jade vein might just be lying down there. Miss LV turned to Lin Chuan, looking so happy upon making a discovery. It seemed as though she was subtly urging him to proceed or take action based on what she had found. However, Lin Chuan disagreed with what she seemed to be suggesting for the reason that the resonance of the crystal below might be too strong as it already is where they are. Miss LV then told him that the ropes may not be long enough for them to reach the ground below, and they cannot dig a passage to the bottom, either, as the rocks there are too fragile. After that, she then commanded the team that they would head in one direction first and see if they could find a way down. Meanwhile, as they were trying to find a way down, Lin Chuan gave an order to everyone to stay close to the rocky walls because the terrain they were walking on was quite complex. And as he was just giving that specific instruction, a member of them got really terrified of the danger they were in, and then the ground below him suddenly collapsed. Meng Ko quickly turned around after noticing that one of their team members was about to fall down to the unknown ground. The man thinks that he is going to die at that moment until he notices a rope connected to a sword circling around his waist. Instead of falling below, he was left hanging in suspense. And just like that, he was saved. After ensuring the man was securely tied to the rope, Meng Ko exerted strength to hoist him back up. The man landed awkwardly, crashing onto his face, yet he paid little heed to the pain. His sole focus was on the overwhelming relief of finally being saved. He then thanked Meng Ko as soon as he had the ability to do so, and Meng Ko smiled back at him, saying he was always welcome. With the unexpected incident resolved, Miss LV instructed everyone to return to their business. She also told them to be careful, knowing that it might be more dangerous down there. As she conveyed her instructions, a sound echoed that sent terror through all of them, freezing them in fear and wonder. As they looked upward, they realized the entire wall was beginning to collapse, instilling a sense of urgency and fear among them. Lin Chuan immediately made use of his chains to hold the slowly collapsing wall as he asked LV Fenjing to protect the young miss and instructed Wan Dao to check the surroundings. But not long enough after the rumbling sound, the wall up above them totally collapsed this time. It seemed like Lin Chuan did not know what to do anymore in the situation as he stared at the area falling apart. Wan Dao saw what was coming, so he quickly reminded his brother Lin Chuan to watch out as he grabbed his sword. He used his sword in order to protect the team, not by slashing off enemies, but by slashing the falling debris this time. Recognizing the burden already on the Razor Squad, who were trying to minimize the casualties, Miss LV urged everyone to move swiftly and to avoid becoming a hindrance to them. With urgency and with Razor Squad's protection, everyone hastened in the same direction, propelled by the imminent threat of the wall above them crumbling and falling apart. At one point while they were on the run, a member of the team urged everyone to look above because he noticed that there was a person up there. The man quickly escaped as the man pointed a finger in his direction. He seemed to be avoiding being noticed by anyone. With that, Meng Ko could not help but theorize that the rockfall might have been caused by that person up above. On the other hand, Lin Chuan suggested he would go after the man. Meng Ko gazed at Lin Chuan as he ascended toward the man. However, in the midst of this, something unexpected occurred once more. The man who had initially spotted the figure above was struck by falling debris, leaving him immobilized with his feet trapped. He immediately called for Meng Ko to save him. Wan Dao exerted all his strength, driving his sword through the rock with an unwavering determination to collapse it manually. On the other hand, Wan Dao thinks that the wall will not hold out for much longer, so he advises Meng Ko to go get him from being stuck and take Miss LV to a safer place. Meng Ko carried both of them, thinking it would be faster if they escaped that way. On the other hand, Miss LV seemed a bit annoyed after Meng Ko told her she was heavy. The wall collapse is getting serious. Meng Ko thinks that even with their strong physiques, Exalta will not hold out for long. With that in mind, he advised Wan Dao and his guys to evacuate too, saying that the ground beneath them would not hold much longer. Wan Dao agreed to him and instructed the guys to quickly keep up and protect everyone as they moved. The Razor Squad immediately obeyed their leader and did their best to protect everyone. Following Wan Dao's lead, the Razor Squad persisted in shielding everyone from the falling debris as they sprinted forward. Urgently seeking to ensure everyone's safety, Miss LV commanded everyone to accelerate their pace and run faster. While making their escape, the shattering of the wall intensified to the point the place was unrecognizable anymore. Even though they made it out alive, Professor Yi could not help but tremble in fear due to the trauma brought by their near-death experience inside. Miss LV checked on her. She said she was okay, but she could not believe that they tried to kill them just because they wanted the Ruby Jade veins for themselves. All of a sudden, Lin Chuan descended, and Miss LV immediately came to ask him for some updates about the situation above. But the more important question she wanted him to answer was if he managed to catch the man who did all that. However, Lin Chuan failed to do so. He did not even see his face clearly, but he seemed to be Nai Quan from the Valiant Saber Squad, and he only retrieved a piece of rock from there. From the way it looked, he thinks that the rocks seemed to look like the runes that those prospectors had set up. That means that what happened was not an accident. They planned it all knowing they would pass through there. Knowing this, Miss LV was determined to show no mercy to Shen Yulong. On the other hand, Mankeo was still wondering how they did it, and then asked Miss LV if they would launch a preemptive attack on the global group's prospecting team. Miss LV grew angrier noticing Mankeo's apparent disbelief that the global group was responsible for the catastrophe despite the apparent pieces of evidence. Mankeo thinks that after all, suspicion is contagious. But there is no time to hesitate. If Shen Yulong discovered the Ruby Jade vein first, he would be the hero and no one will believe them. Meanwhile, Miss LV was encouraging everyone to kill the bastards from the global group. She would even give additional rewards for every man they would be able to kill. While everybody was cheering for Miss Sia, Mankeo thought that there was no way to quell their anger at that time, but still, he had a feeling that something was not quite right. Amidst the chaos happening and what might happen next, Lin Chuan stood to the side, wearing a smirk, seemingly unfazed by the unfolding events. Once the commotion subsided, Mankeo turned to Lin Chuan and inquired whether he shared Miss LV's perspective of holding the global group accountable for the unfolding events. Lin Chuan told him that he was. However, they did not have any concrete evidence to say that Shen Yulong was behind all that happened to them. He might deny it, of course. The positive outcome of the speculation was that everyone believed they stood on the side of justice, that they were ambushed and seeking vengeance unites them tighter. A member of the Razor Squad even made a threatening statement that he would smash the skull of anyone from the global group he ran into with a pickaxe. Back to the two, Mankeo figured that Lin Chuan's words only mean a single thing, which is they had no other choice but to continue forward. On the other hand, Lin Chuan advised Mankeo to remember his promise that he would prioritize his safety first before anything else. Mankeo then agreed. On their way to continue the mission, Miss Sia told everyone that they really needed to find the Ruby Jade vein before Shen Yulong and set up a defensive formation to secure a win. Suddenly, a team member noticed the mist created by the diffusion of geothermal fluid. She then warned them about the possible effect of the microorganisms that might be thriving there. And also, the mining lamps cannot penetrate the fog. Thankfully, they have Miss Sia who can feel the surroundings. As she tried to feel the characteristics of the geothermal fluid, she figured that it was nothing to be worried about because it didn't have a strong toxicity or corrosiveness. She can feel it. The main vein of the Ruby Jade must be deep within that area of the geothermal fluid. There's a strong energy emanating from there. After that, she ordered everyone to activate the environmental monitoring function on their tactical watches and stay alert of their surroundings as they press on. Wan Dao also ordered the Razor Squad to follow closely and monitor the surroundings. Lin Chuan advised Mankeo to keep his mind index stable because even though the toxicity of the geothermal fluid there is low, the resonance of the crystal is still there. On the other hand, the injured member was scared about the number of the luminescent microorganisms, but his comrade told him it was better to be poisoned than to be buried alive. All of a sudden, he heard a voice in his head saying that his team member might abandon him because of his leg injury, and that he should chop off the leg of anyone who would try to do so. The man wondered where the voice was coming from. It is like he is going insane. He told his comrade that it was Shi Yulong, and he was going to kill him. The man carrying him then reminded everyone to pay attention to their mental indexes. All of a sudden, the man shouted and ordered the voice he was hearing to stop telling lies to him. And then he moved his pickaxe side by side as if he was trying to drive some imaginary demons away from him. All of a sudden, his delusions came to an end after someone smacked him on the back of his neck. It was Wan Dao. He had to do it because he was experiencing visual and auditory hallucinations due to the impact of the resonance on his visual and auditory nerves. Wan Dao hopes that he regains his senses and becomes clear-headed again when he wakes up later. At the same time, a woman stepped on a cliff and almost fell below, but a man grabbed and pulled her up before she completely dropped. They then informed Miss Sia about this and asked her to take a look at it. It seemed like they had reached a dead end. Wan Dao suggested throwing a stone down the chasm to see how deep it is. Unexpectedly, after he dropped the stone, there was no sound of the stone hitting the ground for a very long period of time. It is either the sound absorbed by the geothermal fluid or the chasm floor is really far. In any case, the magnetic interference there is unusually high. They cannot go down from there no matter what. They have to look around and search for other places with flat surfaces. Suddenly, Lin Chuan told Miss Sia that according to the terrain there should be a relatively gentle slope over there that they could use to go down. Miss Sia informed everybody about the cliff up ahead, and that they could not go down from there. They needed to change their course. On the other hand, Meng Keo was still wondering because Lin Chuan had been acting weirdly ever since they entered the underground, and now he's acting like nothing happened. Be that as it may, he still didn't rule out the possibility that he might be imagining things at the moment. He then stopped for a moment and listened to the sound he was hearing. He figured that the number of footsteps was incorrect. The sounds of people breathing and heartbeats have also significantly increased. He thinks that their team has been infiltrated and there are several of them. He also suspected that it was a part of the global group's plan. They took advantage of the mist caused by the geothermal fluid and infiltrated their team. They are attacking them, he thinks. He imagined the global group trying to kill every single one of them. However, the Razor Squad would not make it easy for them. He could not believe that this had happened. He then wondered why they were suddenly attacking them when there was no reason for them to do that. He also wondered why is it that even though he returned from the apocalypse, he still could not change anything. All of a sudden, Lin Chuan appeared in front of his face, and he asked him if he was alright. Meng Keo replied that he was, and then asked about the situation with the Razor Squad. Lin Chuan explained that they were currently fighting against the global group mining team, and they may end up being wiped out. He then gave him a bag with bombs and other tools, and asked him to go around the cliff and use it to blast open a path. Meng Keo immediately realized what Lin Chuan was asking him to do, which was to run while everyone was in danger. Lin Chuan explained that he had to make it out alive in order to report Shen Yulong to the Exalted Tower. That way, Shen Yulong's scheme would be thwarted. However, Meng Keo was worried about what Lin Chuan would do once he left. Lin Chuan asked him not to worry about him. After all, his beast soul is a phoenix. He assured Meng Keo that Shen Yulong would never be able to hurt him. Then he commanded Meng Keo to stop talking and just go instead, or else he would not consider him his brother anymore. Meng Keo agreed, but he had one last thing to tell him. He then told the information about the fungus that secretes a sticky mucus and its relationship with the gargoyle mushrooms and the blade jump spider. I was called the acrolith spider. It is a rare evolved mutant and the leader of both species. He then received a message thanking him for the information he told the special citizen, Lin Chuan. Lin Chuan then thanked him for it. On the other hand, Meng Keo wondered why he was addressed as a special citizen. It was the same as Jiakao. He thinks that it could possibly mean that Lin Chuan is going to encounter something later. All of a sudden, Lin Chuan asked Meng Keo to watch out. Before he knew it, a bullet made from an energy stone was coming towards him. It contains the power of a forced air exalted. Unexpectedly, Lin Chuan swiftly moved towards Meng Keo, pushing him forward and taking the bullet himself. With a sense of urgency, he asked Meng Keo to run. It seems like Meng Keo has no choice at all but to leave Lin Chuan and the others there in order to make things right. It was the lone gunman Lai Xin who shot the bullet. He was a 4-star exalted. Lin Chuan assured that he would hold him off while Meng Keo ran. Despite Meng Keo's attempt to stay by Lin Chuan, the injured Lin Chuan firmly ordered him to go and run. Lin Chuan was right. Meng Keo would not be able to change the outcome, even though he intervened in the fight between Sky Stage fighters. But still, he wondered how Lin Chuan, his neighbor, senior brother, and his idol, became a special citizen. Suddenly, the sound of the wind shifted noticeably, leading him to believe that someone was approaching. Out of nowhere, he heard a familiar voice. He threatened to kill Meng Keo after he ambushed him earlier. It was Qin who, rapidly advancing toward Meng Keo with a drawn sword. With agility and quick reflexes, Meng Keo skillfully stepped forward, avoiding the lethal swing of his sword. Menkeo swiftly leaped away from Kin, who, putting distance between himself and the oncoming threat. Despite the tension, Menkeo implored Kin Hu to cease the attack and urged him to listen for a moment. However, Kin Hu remained unyielding, expressing that Menkeo might not have envisioned that he would meet his demise at Kin Hu's hands. Undeterred, Menkeo persisted, urging Kin Hu to halt the aggression and questioning if there was a misunderstanding between them. Despite Menkeo's pleas to settle their score another day, Kin Hu persisted and escalated the situation by launching an attack with his sword. Menkeo was astonished and found himself taken aback by the formidable strength and ferocity exhibited by Kin Hu. Kin Hu, in a forceful motion, pushed Menkeo away with his sword. Kin Hu conveyed to Menkeo that he wouldn't succumb to any tricks or deception. On the other hand, Menkeo worried that the distance between them widened. Despite Kin Hu's apparent simplicity, Menkeo did not expect that he would face a notable challenge in dealing with him. Still, Kin Hu was determined to take Menkeo's life. By then, Menkeo apologized for what happened between them. He took all the blame for it. He already reflected on his mistakes at night and wanted to sincerely apologize to him, but he feared his unparalleled strength and dared not to visit him in person. While Menkeo was saying all those things, Kin Hu kept on attacking him and determined that he would never fall for Menkeo's schemes. He also thought that he was just doing that knowing that Lin Chuan could not come to rescue him since he was busy dealing with his captain. Nevertheless, Menkeo asked for Kin Hu's forgiveness and pleaded with him to be the bigger person. He also asked him to just sit down and have a sincere conversation instead. He told Kin Hu that he was not afraid to die, but if he was to die, he wanted to die with meaning. He didn't want to end up as a lifeless body in that dark underground. Kin Hu knew that it was him who fooled him into giving him the crystallized nerve orb of the Golden Spectre, which made people laugh at him for months. So this time, he would never fall for his tricks again, no matter how hard he tried. The ground where Menkeo was standing shattered after Kin Hu smashed it. Menkeo now figured that Kin Hu was just an idiot. He was simply unreasonable. That means he has no other choice but to fight. All of a sudden, Kin Hu smirked as he sensed that Menkeo was now ready to fight, saying that he would like it better that way. He urged Menkeo to fight like the Exalta they are to their heart's content. Meanwhile, Menkeo thudded Kin Hu's hand with his sword. He then called him an idiot. On the other hand, Kin Hu told Menkeo to stop wasting his time and that he cannot stand cowards like him who are afraid of death and beg for mercy on their knees. He would not be bothered to do anything to him since he was just an ordinary citizen back then. But now that he had become an Exalta, he wanted Menkeo to fight with him to death. Menkeo let Kin Hu call him names whatever he wants, and then hint him that there is something fishy going on. Nevertheless, Kin Hu doesn't care if there is something fishy going on or not. He then told him that he has to defeat him first if he wanted to talk. When Menkeo took another step, he realized that there is no ground anymore. He was at the edge of a cliff now. Kin Hu was just a tough nut to crack. There is nothing he could do to reason with him. Menkeo was worried that he ended up in a dead end. For a moment he stopped and think of another plan. But he was too late. Kin Hu grabbed his head and aimed for an attack. All of a sudden, Menkeo made himself fall off the cliff, purposely dragging Kin Hu with him. He used his rope tied to Kin Hu's foot to make him fall with him. Kin Hu was not expecting him to do this move, which made him angrier at him and promised himself that he would make Menkeo pay for it. Menkeo found it incredibly difficult to walk again, nearly all of his bones shattered after his fall from the cliff. He then called Firespark to exchange into basic healing. Not long enough, the basic healing started, and in just a few minutes it was almost done. Menkeo was bathing in his own blood during the whole process. After a few moments, the healing process was completely done, and once again, Menkeo felt alive again. Rapid self-healing requires a lot of energy. On the other hand, Menkeo still had not eaten anything in a while, and he was currently starving at that moment. Fortunately, he remembered that still had the pack given to him by Lin Chuan. He immediately opened the bag. He retrieved a vial containing a solution that might suffice his hunger. Without a moment's delay, he drank it immediately, hoping to alleviate the hunger that gnawed at him. Finally, he feels a lot better after consuming the solution. He was amazed by how prepared Lin Chuan was for having compressed food and other survival supplies at the ready. He could not stop himself from worrying about the situation up there and whether Lin Chuan and the others were okay. As for the idiot Kin, who he remembers him holding onto his chain blade when they fell. He wondered whether he survived or not. All of a sudden, he heard Kin who calling him to come out. Menkeo thinks that Kin who must use all his inner energy that should have been for his brain for his muscles instead. Kin who persistently called out Menkeo's name, leaving Menkeo puzzled about how Kin who appeared unharmed when he himself had to resort to using Fire Spark to heal himself. For a moment, Menkeo was confident that Kin who would never be able to find him because of the geothermal fluid, but he remembered that the Crimson Inferno was still chained to his leg. He figured that all he had to do was follow the chain to find him. Faced with this realization, Menkeo had no alternative but to flee to keep Kin who from finding him. However, Kin who had already found him. Luckily, Menkeo was able to dodge him just in time. Kin whose attacks are too powerful for him, now which left him no other choice but to hide. Out of nowhere, Menkeo's head eventually started hurting. In his head, he saw his past life talking with another man about death stealth and guile thrust. Those are two of the most essential techniques to ensure a mission goes smoothly. The technique combines various secret arts, and it allows anyone to suppress all physiological activities to a minimum while allowing him to fight like a cold-blooded, stable killing machine. Back to reality, Menkeo unlocked the novice rank of Death Stealth with a 9% proficiency level. He then retrieved another vial containing a purple solution. Simultaneously, he beseeched Fire Spark to enhance Death Stealth. Without much care, he consumed the contents of the vial, breaking the mouth of it in the process. Now the Death Stealth has been successfully upgraded to the intermediate rank with 1% proficiency at the moment. On the other hand, Menkeo seemed a little bit lunatic. Meanwhile, Kin, who was wondering what kind of nasty stuff Menkeo used to make his wound continue bleeding even after a long period of time. He also was wondering whether he killed him with his strike because he could vaguely sense his presence just a few minutes earlier, but then he was completely gone now. While grappling with the turmoil in his mind, he suddenly lifted his gaze, which made the furrowed lines on his face deepen into a frown. He just realized the immense height from which he had fallen with Menkeo, causing his anger toward him to intensify. All of a sudden, he saw something that resembled Menkeo and immediately thought that it was really him. He swiftly aimed his sword, thrusting it towards Menkeo, only to find that Menkeo was not there. The sound produced by the sword's strike further confirmed that it was not him. It was an Exbeast. The level 2 super beast branch-toothed boa eventually showed its full body after Kin who pulled his sword and let out some hisses to scare him off. In an unexpected turn of events, the branch-toothed boa suddenly bit Kin who on his shoulder. Kin who was unable to evade the Exbeast's attack. In return, Hen swiftly sliced the creature into pieces even as its mouth remained clamped onto his shoulder. Despite losing an eye to the branch-toothed boa, which impressed him since it was only a level 2 super beast, Kin who emerged victorious, ultimately slaying the formidable Exbeast. However, any sense of victory quickly dissipated as he realized that the branch-toothed boa he had slain was not alone. Actually, he had just walked into a branch-toothed boa nest. Meanwhile, Menkeo, who was just lurking around, could not believe how foolish Kin who was for using his energy flame recklessly in a place that has such a complex ecosystem. Aside from the fact that he hurt Kin whose leg, he also fell off the cliff with him and lost an eye due to his stupidity when he went against a level 2 star branch-toothed boa. Because of these, Menkeo calculated that he could now only use 30% of his total strength. Now he had a whole group of Exbeast to go against with. Unfortunately, Kin who was bitten by 2 branch-toothed boas simultaneously on his back, which caused him so much pain. On the other hand, Menkeo thinks that going against a group of branch-toothed boas is no different from seeking death. Clearly, he would not be able to survive battling with them. Despite facing an overwhelming number of enemies, Kin who displayed no sign of worry or fear. Relying solely on his strength and unwavering fighting spirit, he systematically tore the creatures apart one by one. Even as some of the Exbeasts managed to bite Kin who, he refused to surrender, relentlessly tearing them apart despite the wounds he endured. Meanwhile, Menkeo was feeling happy because he thought he would save a lot of energy if he let those branch-toothed boas take care of Kin who for him. All of a sudden, his head started hurting again. He saw in his head himself arguing with another man about eliminating unnecessary emotions and distractions and transforming themselves into dependable and committed killing machines. The man did not agree with him, but he kept on insisting that they needed to put aside all their prejudices when facing the ex-beasts. However, Mankeo was resolute in not repeating the same mistake again. He was determined not to let himself become a cold-blooded bastard. He then rushed towards Kin-Hu. He stepped onto the battlefield, prepared for his enemies, and now he was willing to fight on their side. Kin-Hu was surprised that Mankeo finally showed himself. At first, he thinks that Mankeo was just afraid that he could not take on those monsters alone if he died battling with them was the reason why Mankeo suddenly went out of hiding. However, Mankeo explained that it was just because his stealth skills were not good enough. He was afraid that the beasts he attracted would discover him anyway. Nevertheless, Kin-Hu believed that Mankeo was merely attempting to gain his favor, a tactic he was determined not to succumb to. Eventually, Kin-Hu's anger towards Mankeo intensified when he sarcastically commended him for being wise that he would never be fooled by him in any case. Kin-Hu was determined not to let Mankeo get away after the mockery. But Mankeo could not care less. He even mocked him again because he now can recognize a mockery. Both of them stood amidst the boas, their swords interlocked as they crossed blades against each other, as if they were going to end each other. All of a sudden, both of them simultaneously launched their attacks, eager to end their enemies. They then sliced through the boas one by one. In a matter of a few minutes, they had already killed a significant number of ex-beasts because of working together. After killing too many branch-toothed boas, the other rest eventually retreated, which left them in wonder. Mankeo then threatened to kill Kin-Hu if he ever called him a bastard again. On the other hand, Kin-Hu remained indifferent to Mankeo's threats. He asserted that he would call him whatever he wanted. Shortly after, Mankeo asked Kin-Hu whether he preferred to continue their fight or to call a truce and rest over the rocks for a bit to stop worrying about sudden attacks. Kin-Hu responded that Mankeo's group was the first to attack them, but now they were attempting to flip the situation and portray themselves as the good guys. Kin-Hu's revelation didn't truly shock Mankeo, because he had always harbored a suspicion that Kin-Hu's group might also face attacks. Mankeo recounted the various attacks perpetrated by their group, from sending a spy to the bombings, but Kin-Hu simply suggested that they might have been manipulated by Miss LV. Kin-Hu then tossed the map they had, which includes the exit routes, and demonstrated that they wouldn't stoop to stealing their map because theirs was better. Upon inspecting the map, Mankeo realized that Kin-Hu's group had not entered through the underground stream. Kin-Hu told him that he would have preferred the underground stream he was talking about rather than squeezing through the narrow escape routes, which made Mankeo more curious. Kin-Hu then explained the reason why he said that, which was because they had arrived at the bottom of the Deluge mountain range, which is the lair of many calamity beasts. Even if they climb to the surface, the calamity beasts will trample them to death long before that. After explaining, Kin-Hu told Mankeo to upload the data of those routes on his tactical watch so that he could have access to more escape routes in case of an emergency. In gratitude, Mankeo handed Kin-Hu a first aid spray. Kin-Hu acknowledged the gesture, expressing that he owed Mankeo one for the help. Now it is clear that Kin-Hu's group did not steal their map, but Mankeo's team still had a spy who defected from their team, and they were ambushed. Upon hearing this, Kin-Hu speculated that there might be someone manipulating events and creating conflict between the two teams. Someone within their respective teams is trying to make them fight each other. Mankeo already has a culprit on his mind based on the events, but he was still not sure about it. Even without saying a word, Kin-Hu sensed from Mankeo's expression that he suspected Lin Chuan might be the culprit behind all the manipulation. As they conversed and took a break, an explosion resonated from the top of the cliff. Debris rained down from the cliff, and several individuals were also seen plummeting from the top. Mankeo immediately thinks that they have to go up there to stop the meaningless fight, but Kin-Hu discourages him from doing so because there is a powerful magnetic force up there. Mankeo's eyes widened as a sudden realization struck him. Kin-Hu's mention of the powerful magnetic field interference caused him to come up with an idea. Mankeo was so happy that he even called Kin-Hu a genius, seriously this time. He then asked for some time to mitigate the magnetic energy interference effect. Kin-Hu, on the other hand, was puzzled about Mankeo's reaction after he belittled him that he could not do anything to help them up there. Mankeo and Kin-Hu are now filled with excitement as they work together on their new plan. For a moment, Menkeo seemed to have been carefully studying the bodies of the branch-toothed boas they killed earlier, while Kin, who was just lying low. Menkeo slit the outer skin of the boa and saw the inside of it. At this moment, it seemed like Menkeo was trying to separate the outer skin of the boa from its flesh. He then pulled out a part of its flesh with a knife and closely examined it. While marveling at Menkeo's impressive harvesting skills, Kin, who couldn't help but admire Menkeo's ability to efficiently harvest the monster using just a single knife. Without them knowing, a group of branch-toothed boas had been silently lurking in the shadows, patiently waiting for the opportune moment to launch a surprise attack. Seizing the opportunity while Menkeo was best at harvesting monsters, the branch-toothed boas struck with sudden and coordinated attacks. Seizing the opportunity while Menkeo was engrossed in harvesting monsters, the branch-toothed boas struck with sudden and coordinated attacks. Kin, who was overflowing with powers making the other boas, seemed to understand the consequences of challenging him. So instead of pursuing their attack, they retreated swiftly. Out of nowhere, just after the boas escaped, a removed skin of boa was thrown towards Kin, which awkwardly landed directly onto his face as if intentionally placed. Kin, who argued with Menkeo about using the skin of the boa as their armor since the skin itself was too soft and flabby. It could even be cut by just using a knife. Menkeo agreed with him that it would not serve as a good shield, but the skin could weaken the magnetic interference, which was proved by Kin, who after he wore the skin over his body. All of a sudden, Menkeo brought out a thing that eventually turned into a slime-like glue. He then started rubbing it to the piece of the branch-toothed boa, which had some sharp horns on it. Menkeo explained to the curious Kin that he was using the hardened slime of petrification grass. It hardens with air but softens when exposed to acids. He noticed some people were using it, so he grabbed some of it for future usage at times like this. Kin, who was amazed by how many tricks Menkeo had. Suddenly, another person plummeted from the cliff, catching the attention of Menkeo and Kin, who recognized the falling individual as Shen, Yulong's bodyguard. He pondered whether the person had met their demise during the descent. Menkeo hurriedly approached the man and seized his equipment. Kin, who was taken aback, and urged Menkeo to cease his actions, insisting on showing respect for the deceased. But Menkeo thinks it is better to pool all the available resources and strengthen their combat powers now that there is chaos up there. Kin, who then suggested that they have to find a way to end the chaos above, while Menkeo found a gun which he thought was a self-destructing rifle. Kin, who quickly urged Menkeo to lower the rifle. The bullet in his hand might be a crystallized organ of the apocalyptic threat or an ancient stone fragment from the distant past, containing a power capable of destroying the world. When the bullet is fired, it will unleash magnetic spiritual energy that has a detonation range farther than the ordinary crystal bullets, which would affect the brain of whoever fired it. Menkeo then told him that he never intended to use the weapon, but only to scare people. I also gave Kin, a weapon that he might use. Kin, who immediately tried the weapon on as Menkeo told him that he was hoping that they would have a chance to settle their scores outside that place. But with both Yan Liuiwu and Ning families supporting Menkeo, Kin, who thinks it is foolish if he would still think of settling things with him in particular. They then continued their journey to the top of the cliff. While climbing the wall, Kin, who asked Menkeo if he was really scared the first time he saw him. All of a sudden, Menkeo felt something that alarmed the both of them. Feeling a sense of foreboding, Menkeo sensed that the troubles they had faced so far might only be the beginning of a series of unfortunate events. As the debris started falling from the wall once again, Kin, who urged Menkeo to hold on to the rock wall. Kin, who thought that those guys up there were doing their best to the point that they even smashed the rock wall, but Menkeo told him it was self-motivation. Menkeo told him that it was just some minor disturbances in the rock formation. On the other hand, Kin, who wondered what might the main formation look like. When self-motivation reaches its limits, it would develop into uncontrollable psychological madness. He doesn't want to talk about destroying the underground cave because a lot will be affected by it. The weight of Menkeo's revelations left Kin, who in despair, and all that escaped his lips were curses, reflecting the gravity of the situation. Kin, who then climbs the rock well quicker this time and urges Menkeo to keep up with his speed. Menkeo wondered why Kin, who suddenly accelerated. He wondered why Kin, who was too affected by what he said, maybe he had an innate talent for sensing danger. In his past life, Menkeo was severely injured and hospitalized by Zuo Haoran. After getting out of the hospital, he went with his father to the resource retrieval company Jirshin to become a harvester. It was not until his father was injured that they had a legal dispute with Jirshin, including winning the lawsuit and demanding money from him later. As he watched Kin, who rushed towards the top of the cliff, Menkeo finally figured that in his past life, Kin, who might be one of the few or even the only one to survive this conspiracy. The current Kin, who is not as aggressive as he was in his previous life. He is also not the deputy of the Wild Dagger Marshal team. Menkeo wonders if this has led to a radical change in him. In Menkeo's head, he remembered the people arguing about going into the wilderness to chase and kill the White Ghost. Remembering this made Menkeo what White Ghost means or what it is. Bai Jiakao told the man that Kin, who was just a 5-star transcendent awakener. On the other hand, the White Ghost is one of the 9 great demons, so it is impossible for him to kill the White Ghost. She then crumpled the document she had been holding, and she tears due to her anger towards the people from the survival committee. She told them that those people were just a bunch of useless individuals who could not protect the interests of ordinary people like them, as she swore not to rely on them ever again. Back to reality, Menkeo shook his head frantically, attempting to retrieve the memories that he could not bring himself to remember. Due to this, Kin, who threw a rock at his head to snap him back to consciousness. Then he asked Menkeo what was bothering him and what made him act that way. Menkeo then told him that he was thinking of a way to resolve the situation in the most accurate and safe way, but then he interrupted him by throwing a stone on his head. Kin, who, skeptical of Menkeo's effectiveness in solving any problem above, feels that he must be the one to step in and handle the situation appropriately. Menkeo saw Kin, who was a 3-star awakener in the heavenly realm, but in his memories, he could actually ascend to the transcendence realm and reach level 5-star spiritual insight. He couldn't help but believe that he might stumble upon something unexpected by chance. He was also happy that he had talked with Kin, who earlier and repaired some aspects of their relationship. If the worst case happens, he could use his good luck and escape with him. Upon reaching the cliff's summit, they carefully inserted a tool through a rock crevice, hoping to catch a glimpse inside the cave and discover any hidden surprises. The gadget descended gradually into the crevices. Eventually, the camera-equipped device reached the cave's interior, allowing Menkeo and Kin to witness its secrets unfold before their eyes. Anxiously, Kin asked Menkeo what he saw inside as he peered into the device. As he gazed at the device, Menkeo's face suddenly changed, causing Kin to believe that he had encountered something dreadful within. Kin swiftly grabbed the device from Menkeo, eager to witness for himself what had prompted such a sudden change in expression. Peering through the lenses, the sight of lifeless bodies covered with blood unfolded before Kin eyes, revealing a chilling and unsettling scene. Kin felt a wave of sadness as he witnessed the lifeless members of the Wild Dagger Marshal team, including their leader, owed him a meal after losing on the bet he made with him. Meanwhile, Menkeo pondered whether any surviving Heavenly Realm experts remained, a question lingering in his mind amid the unfolding scene. Peeking into the camera, they witnessed another explosion and heard a man belittling another, addressing him as if he were nothing more than a mere dog. Menkeo looked at the camera closely, trying to discern the identities of the speaker and the person being addressed. In a brief moment, his eyes caught sight of Shen Yulong, who carried the helpless Lin Chuan on his side, which made him wonder what must be really happening. He couldn't bring himself to believe that the person he looked up to, Lin Chuan, was up there, appearing so helpless and vulnerable. Eventually, Shen Yulong called out for Miss Sia to emerge, mocking her for being scared now that her dog, Lin Chuan, couldn't come to her aid. Shen Yulong issued a final call for Miss Sia to come out, warning that if she didn't, she would have to bid farewell to her beloved dog, a threat that made Menkeo agitated. Growing desperate, he contemplated intervening in their fight, willing to go inside and meddle to save them all from the escalating conflict. However, Kin remained wise, restraining Menkeo from acting on his emotions and impulsive instincts. Menkeo quickly grasped Kin's message and made an effort to calm himself down, understanding the need for restraint in a tense situation. He repeated the words to himself, whispering, "I need to calm down," again and again, trying to regain control of his emotions. Nevertheless, Menkeo still thinks that Lin Jai is the planner behind this conflict. He could not have died so easily at the hands of Shen Yulong, a mere teenager from a wealthy family. He thinks that he definitely still has a trick up his sleeve. On the other hand, Qin, who was wondering where Manhwa learned his strange movements. If he was not by his side, he would not even feel his vital signs. Within the cave, Shen Yulong called out to Miss Xia once more, attempting to instill fear and uncertainty in her with his persistent summons. As Shen Yulong's anger intensified since Miss Xia still had not shown herself, he grew more furious, leading him to forcefully throw Lin Chuan onto a pile of rocks. It turned out that Miss Xia had been hiding behind a rock, witnessing Lin Chuan's suffering. Realizing the situation wasn't improving, she understood the gravity of the circumstances. Suddenly, she freed herself from hiding and rushed towards Lin Chuan, driven by a surge of determination to help him. Just in time, before Lin Chuan could crash into a rock, she covered him with her body, shielding him from the impending impact. The impact was severe as both of them crashed, but miraculously, they emerged unharmed and safe from the ordeal. Unable to control himself, Shen Yulong couldn't help but cringe at the scene he just witnessed, dismissing it as what he sarcastically referred to as LV family drama. He then began channeling his powers, preparing for the next phase of the unfolding confrontation. He then told Miss Xia that her dog would not have fallen because of his flying star blade treasure if she had just equipped her dog with better equipment. Unfortunately, Shen Yulong told Miss Xia that there is no place for wishes now. With slow and deliberate steps, he proceeded to approach Miss Xia and Lin Chuan, who were still on the ground. Miss Xia then attempted to persuade him, urging that he had the power to undo what he was about to do and reconsider. However, Shen Yulong remained determined not to change his stance, fueled by the belief that he held the upper hand, with the coveted Ruby Jade vein right within his reach. Miss Xia gazed at Lin Chuan, who remained unconscious. Leaving Lin Chuan behind, she bravely stepped forward to confront Shen Yulong to face the unfolding challenges head-on. Repeating her plea, she implored Shen Yulong to halt his actions while there was still time, summoning her own power in a determined effort to make a stand. Her aura overflowed as if casting a mystical spell, beckoning the earth to heed her command and follow her lead. Suddenly, the ground beneath Shen Yulong rose abruptly, piercing him on both sides and catching him off guard, causing him to feel intense pain. Shen Yulong couldn't believe that Miss Xia had the ability to control the earth and launch a surprise attack, leaving him astonished and vulnerable. Shen Yulong thought that her job was to provide support to her people. He could not believe that she had been hiding her trump card in her possession the whole time. Enraged by LV Xia and Lin Chuan's actions, Shen Yulong unleashed his formidable power, sending his flying star blade treasure hurtling toward them. Anticipating Shen Yulong's ruthless nature, LV Xia braced herself for the inevitable harm he would inflict without remorse. In a defensive move, she swiftly summoned her power, erecting a barrier spell around her while also seizing control of Shen Yulong's blades. Shen Yulong's blades scattered in all directions, but nothing went straight towards LV Xia. Shielding herself successfully from Shen Yulong's assault, LV Xia now had the opportunity to counterattack. Miss LV Xia seized control of the rocks once again, determined to make Shen Yulong pay for all his misdeeds. Upon facing the ceiling, Shen Yulong was met with the sight of massive rocks descending upon him. Regrettably, Shen Yulong had no time to escape the impending shower of rocks. All he could do was cover his head and brace for the inevitable. With the final collapse of rocks, Shen Yulong vanished from sight, concealed by the thick smoke resulting from the ceiling's collapse. In the aftermath, it became clear that Shen Yulong had survived the collapse, but he found himself trapped and immobilized under the weight of the rocks. Enraged by the situation, Shen Yulong harbored intense anger towards LV Xia for orchestrating the collapse that left him trapped and powerless. He was also furious about the fact that Miss Xia hid her true nature of being a fighter, pretending to be an ordinary prospector, and only showed it when the victory was assured. With a sudden motion, Miss LV directed her index finger toward Shen Yulong, unleashing yet another powerful attack. With that simple gesture, Miss Xia was able to make the rock with a pointed end pierced through Shen Yulong's stomach, leaving him writhing in pain and agony. Shen Yulong fell to his knees, writhing in pain, while Miss Xia revealed that it was indeed her trump card. She naturally waits until the last minute to ensure that no variables remain before using them. Manhwa and Qin, who were shocked by the revelation, realizing that the so-called elites could be so cruel and ruthless, each one worse than the last one. Menkeo then realized that Miss Sia was truly a poisonous snake since she just left everyone out to fight their enemies by themselves to death when she herself was actually a fighter. Miss Sia was startled when she heard a cough coming from where she had left Lin Chuan to rest. Worried, she rushed toward Lin Chuan to find out what was wrong with him. She swiftly handed Lin Chuan a serum and assisted him as he took it. The serum promised to accelerate his healing process. Miss Sia thinks that Lin Chuan might not understand her reasons for concealing her true abilities. Nevertheless, she explained to him that she had just found out she could gain control of the rocks. Lin Chuan smiled at her and asked her not to explain herself further, assuring her that he already believed her. Lin Chuan stood up, and Miss Sia, concerned about his not fully healed wounds, urged him not to exert too much pressure on himself. However, Lin Chuan insisted on standing up. He went straight towards Shen Yulong, who mocked him for being a truly loyal dog to Miss Sia. Ignoring Shen Yulong's mockery, Lin Chuan approached him with determination, ready to confront the taunts and defend his loyalty to Miss Sia. As Lin Chuan closed in, Shen Yulong grew increasingly nervous, realizing that Lin Chuan could still move despite his injuries. Menkeo couldn't fathom how Lin Chuan recovered so rapidly, considering even the most advanced genetic medicine and high-energy treatments hadn't achieved such results. In a swift motion, Lin Chuan seized Shen Yulong by the neck, sending a shiver of fear through him. With a smirk, Lin Chuan sarcastically asked Shen Yulong who was the human, and who was the dog now at that very moment. Shen Yulong, overcome with emotion, began weeping and pleaded with Lin Chuan not to end his life. He was so determined to beg him that he even barked like a dog to plead with Lin Chuan. In tears, Shen Yulong offered Miss Sia the radiant red jade veins, confessing that it was all hers now, as he pleaded for mercy from Lin Chuan. He told her that he would never argue about it again for the rest of his life. Overwhelmed with fear, Shen Yulong became so nervous that he started to pee his pants in front of them. Unexpectedly, Miss Sia asked Lin Chuan to release Shen Yulong. Lin Chuan's eyes widened, seemingly in disbelief at what Miss Sia had just ordered him to do. Unable to believe Miss Sia's request, Lin Chuan asked her to repeat herself, and she did. She insisted on sparing Shen Yulong's life, not wanting him to die there. Miss Sia revealed her plan. She intended to bring Shen Yulong to the Tribulation Committee, exposing his malicious actions of attacking fellow humans underground. Once again, Lin Chuan widened his eyes in surprise after hearing Miss Sia's unexpected plan. Eventually, he let out a sound that seemed to be a laugh, but he was controlling himself not to burst into laughter yet. In the end, he couldn't hold back his laughter any longer and burst into laughter, the sound echoing like he had lost his sanity. Miss Sia couldn't comprehend why he was suddenly laughing, puzzled by the unexpected outburst. Lin Chuan then explained that he was laughing because, in his analogy, demonic pigs always fought to the death, while the 9-headed dragon stayed above, allowing them to spare each other's lives. Miss Sia wasn't pleased with his statement. In fact, it angered her. Meanwhile, Lin Chuan asked her if she had always just considered him as her guard dog. Lin Chuan continued his speech, pointing out to Miss Sia that she never refuted Shen Yulong despite his insults about Lin Chuan being her loyal dog. He even added that during their school days, she stayed silent despite her classmates calling him her family's servant. He then asked her if she ever defended him. Miss Sia went closer to Lin Chuan and told him that she did defend him. As she held his hand to calm him down, she told him that was the reason why she fought with them back then. She asserted to them that Lin Chuan belonged to her, assuring everyone that she would always have his back. All of a sudden, Shen Yulong spoke up and testified that Miss Sia had indeed spoken those words back then, which seemed to please Lin Chuan. Suddenly, Lin Chuan smacked Shen Yulong's face against the wall beside him after realizing the root of the problem. Miss Sia seemed not to understand a single thing from beginning to end. Lin Chuan pointed out to her that she didn't own him. He belonged only to himself. Nevertheless, Miss Sia still tried to calm Lin Chuan down, suggesting that he might be thinking that way and acting a little crazy due to the effects of geomagnetic radiation. She eagerly persuaded Lin Chuan to calm down and listen, expressing her wish for him to release Shen Yulong and come back to her side. Miss Sia tried really hard, but Lin Chuan was still letting Shen Yulong go from his grasp. Once again, Miss Sia ordered Lin Chuan to let Shen Yulong, as if she were forcing him to obey her, suggesting that something would happen if he didn't comply. Eventually, she started summoning her power and asked the earth to answer her prayers. As Lin Chuan stood there, the ground beneath him suddenly began to shift. Abruptly, a sharp-edged rock turned and moved directly toward Lin Chuan, causing him to be wounded by its unexpected trajectory. Lin Chuan could not believe that Miss Sia would harm him for the sake of Shen Yulong. He then reassured himself that she was meant to act as she did. After all, they were the same kind. They were both 9-headed diamond dragons. Miss Sia wasn't intending to hurt him. It was simply because she couldn't control the stone snake perfectly. She then begged Lin Chuan to not make her do that again. On the other hand, Shen Yulong started calling everybody crazy. He even called Miss Sia a crazy woman who would fight him to the death for that raw vein. Miss Sia then asked Shen Yulong to stop talking nonsense and urged him to admit that he was the one who sent the white-coated prospector who blew out their sight. However, Shen Yulong denied her allegation, insisting that none of his companions wore white clothes. He accused Miss Sia of framing him up. Shen Yulong's revelation left Miss Sia in shock, her eyes widening at the unexpected turn of events. She then turned to face Lin Chuan and asked him who really caused the disturbance in the rock wall. Lin Chuan's smirk persisted as Miss Sia attempted to extract answers from him once again. Menkeo glanced at Qin, who, thinking that the evil Lin Chuan now looked uglier than him. He then told him to just be careful not to be discovered by the people above who are all evil. Meanwhile, Shen Yulong told Miss Sia that the matter between her and Lin Chuan was resolved by themselves. And then he quickly ran away from both of them, excluding himself from their drama. He didn't even listen to Miss Sia, who warned him not to go in that direction, as the place was dangerous due to the lava flow. Lin Chuan just watched him walk away. On the other hand, Shen Yulong told her they were in more danger than he was while escaping, feeling ecstasy. All of a sudden, Shen Yulong was caught off guard by something. His head was struck by an unseen force, causing it to almost fall off from his neck. The creature that caused Shen Yulong's demise had a monstrous leg with razor-sharp claws. Qin, who seemed to know what that creature was, he suspected that it might be the white ghost. Qin, whose suspicion proved accurate, the creature's jaws remained clamped onto Shen Yulong's neck. Menkeo, on the other hand, was so surprised that ghostly three-tailed wolf is the white ghost they were talking about. Menkeo's head seemed to ache just by hearing the words, white ghost. White ghost was one of the 9 demon beasts. It was able to manipulate the mind of his prey, a terrifying existence. It deeply understands human civilization and can transform a monster horde with its power into the ultimate civilization of monsters, a true monster. On the other hand, Miss Sia was asking herself whether Lin Chuan's mind was affected by the white ghost because it seemed like it was. Finally, she figured out that all this time, Lin Chuan was actually the one manipulating the situation behind the scenes. With that realization, Miss Sia gained the ability to cast a spell that gave life to a stone snake, which immediately rushed toward the white ghost. However, the white ghost managed to dodge Miss Sia's attack by effortlessly jumping over the stone snake. It then launched a counterattack on Miss Sia, jumping towards her and sending her flying. She was flung away by the force of the impact. The white ghost, eager to kill immediately, was halted by Lin Chuan. They couldn't kill her yet, moreover, they still needed her to locate the radiant red jade vein. Lin Chuan, with a calm demeanor, inquired if Miss Sia was interested in hearing the story of both him and the white ghost before addressing any further matters. Miss Sia, on the ground and seemingly left with no other choice, conceded, allowing Lin Chuan to go ahead with the storytelling. He asked if she still remembers the first mission he did because it all started there. Lin Chuan was escorting her cousin Lucilian to the depths of the wilderness for training. That was where he met Xiao Bai, the white ghost. At that time, Lin Chuan was ordered to go deeper inside the Kenshin group. And to please her, her father offered Lin Chuan to her group as if he were a gift to her. He then ordered Lin Chuan to protect Lucilian, Sia's cousin, during the whole process. Lin Chuan agreed immediately with his order. Lucilian smirked a little before asking him if he was Sia's dog, commenting that he didn't look bad, but she wondered how useful he actually was. Lin Chuan then assured her that he would just do as he was ordered, which was to protect her. However, it seemed like Lucilian had no belief that Lin Chuan could actually protect her. She then told Lin Chuan that all he needed to do was to keep her satisfied, just like a real dog does, and she would make her father deal with this old man, Lu Fenghui. Lin Chuan was aware that except for Miss Sia, no one in the family treated him as a human. He was just a gift, he needed to know that. To reach his dream, he would bear all the embarrassment as long as she did not see it. However, he did not expect that something big would happen when he faced a radiant feather blue dragon one night. Lucilian was even mocking him about his abilities while he was struggling to deal with the monster alone. Equipped with mediocre gear, Lin Chuan faced an added challenge in his battle against the dragon, intensifying the struggle he already confronted. Nevertheless, he persevered, and in the end, Lin Chuan managed to defeat the radiant feather blue dragon all by himself, extracting a blue crystal from its defeated form. Lin Chuan was obviously exhausted from battling the dragon as he walked towards Lucilian, holding the crystal. It was the first time he got the blue agate crystal. Although it looked like a common material that could be bought by rich kids with some pocket money, for him, it was a rare material that could make him advance in his cultivation. The other member of Lucilian's team asked him why he hadn't given the crystal to the miss yet, suspecting that he was thinking of taking it for himself. The other one argued that he should give the crystal to Lucilian because she was their leader. However, Lin Chuan countered, arguing that he defeated the monster alone. Then Lucilian suddenly spoke amidst the argument, accusing him of planning to keep the crystal for himself. Suddenly, Lin Chuan started begging her, pleading to let him have the low-grade crystal because it was important to him. Lucilian agreed, telling him that she wouldn't be bothered with that junk, but she was just testing his loyalty to the Lu family. His behavior revealed that he was not entirely loyal to her family, disappointing her greatly. She then threatened Lin Chuan, stating that she would inform Lu Fangui about his behavior and ensure he was disciplined accordingly. She even dared to involve Lu Xia, which angered him. Due to a sudden rush of anger, he abruptly slapped her in the face, telling her that she could go to hell. At that moment, his mind went blank and all he could think was killing Lucilian. Unfortunately, he forgot that that girl had 4 other dogs with her, her true loyal dogs. As a result, Lin Chuan was beaten by them all. He thought they would just give him a lesson after all. They were all humans, but apparently he was wrong. The dogs dragged him somewhere after he became helpless due to the beating. After a few days, he was speculating on the cliff and witnessed a fierce battle between Golden Sun lions and Mirage wolves. He immediately informed Lucilian about this. However, instead of being grateful for the information, Lucilian decided to push Lin Chuan down the cliff, wishing him to join the fierce fight beneath. At that moment, as he was falling down the cliff, Lin Chuan realized that Lucilian was indeed a heartless person. Lucilian even laughed at him and told him that anyone who offended her had one way in front of them, which was death. Lucilian pushed Lin Chuan off the cliff, expecting that he would fall to death or that those monsters would tear him apart. Unfortunately for her, her expectations were not met. The sudden growth of plants slowed his fall. Driven by the instinct for survival, he grabbed the plants and rolled over the cave. Deep inside that cave, he met Xiao Bai. The monster was currently dealing with 2 other monsters when he came into the cave. Xiao Bai was just as shocked as Lin Chuan himself by Lin Chuan's presence inside the cave. In order to survive, he had to join Xiao Bai and kill the 2 Golden Sun lions. In a coordinated effort, Lin Chuan and the white ghost Xiao Bai joined forces to rapidly bring down the 2 Golden Sun lions. Those who wanted to kill Lin Chuan were those who claimed to belong to his kind. And those who wanted the white ghost are the ones with the same kind. Lin Chuan then thinks that maybe they were the ones who should be the real kind. So, neither she nor he should care about that monster war. They need to fight just for themselves now, for the real kind. And so he contemplated that maybe it was fate. When they got out of the cave, they saw Lucilian's group. They faced the terrifying monster called the 6-armed devil, and some of them got some serious wounds and were forced to retreat. Very unexpectedly, Lin Chuan, who was at the edge of the cliff, suddenly stomped his feet to dislodge a rock from where he was standing. Lucilian and her group were immediately alerted when they heard the sound, obviously frightened by it. Lucilian then looked up, and just as she turned her head, the rocks were already very close to them. Nevertheless, she still had time to order her group about the impending danger. But it seemed like it was too late. A lot of her men were being hurled in every direction due to the impact revealing them from their hiding from the 6-armed devil who was looking for them. Lin Chuan pondered that he had just paid her for pushing him off the cliff by pushing the huge rock where she was hiding, which was his depiction of justice. They got ripped apart by the monster, and that was why he thought that if they wanted revenge, they should find it instead. In the present, Lin Chuan couldn't help but burst into laughter as he reminisced about the chaotic moment with Miss Sia's cousin. Miss Sia finally realized that all Lin Chuan wanted was revenge on Lucilian. Everything that had happened was part of his plan, and he was the one who had orchestrated the murders of all those people. Lin Chuan affirmed her insight, admitting she was right, but emphasized that his targets were not ordinary people. Rather, they were individuals of wealth and influence like her. He used to test them to see if they could control their greed for treasures. Unfortunately, none of them passed the test when it came to what they considered treasures. Some even attempted to ambush him first. Miss Sia also discerned that the conflict between her group and Shen Yulong's was another test strategically set by Lin Chuan. However, Lin Chuan told her that it was neither him nor Xiao Bai who killed all those bodies around the area. Instead, it was their greed, selfishness, and fear that led to the deaths. He emphasized to Miss Sia that the true monsters reside within the hearts of humans. Miss Sia was disappointed. She never thought that Lin Chuan could be this ruthless and devoid of any moral limits. But he reminded her that she was actually warned by Meng Keo. Unfortunately, she did not listen to his advice. Lin Chuan then told Miss Sia that she caused their deaths, and they also caused their own demise. Qin Hu, on the other hand, wondered how Meng Keo could give such advice about innocence and kindness as Lin Chuan mentioned, given what he experienced with the boy. He knew she saw him as a demon with a human face, but he wanted her to believe that he didn't want to hurt her if she just gave up the red jade vein, which is important for his dream. However, Miss Sia argued that he could still achieve his dream of rebuilding the Fuchai Street School with her. She insisted that together, they could make it even more advanced. But Lin Chuan doesn't see it the way Miss Sia does. He actually wants the poor kids of the Dragon City to enjoy the same educational resources as the rich kids do. He was fighting for them to have equal access to training, cultivation materials, and the same campus, starting from the same point as the privileged students. He longed for a day when equality prevailed, with people freely sharing without any restrictions or conditions. All of a sudden, Meng Keo was tearing up, hearing Lin Chuan's principles, proving that it was not that simple. Qin Hu, on the other hand, made him choose whose side is he, noble or bastard. Meng Keo undoubtedly chose his master, Qin Hu, without a doubt and with a smile on his face. Lin Chuan wanted to start a revolution and change everything, which is why he needed unparalleled power. He then urged Miss Sia to look for the red jade vein with him. However, Miss Sia vehemently opposed the idea of assisting him in the search for the red jade vein, knowing that it would only make things worse as it was then. Lin Chuan then offered her the chance to take complete control of the Dragon City, as long as she was willing to help him attain absolute power and let Xiao Bai become the king of monsters. Together, the three of them could potentially conquer the other world by triumphing over the Beast Mountain, presenting a promising future ahead. Lin Chuan knew that Sia had always loved him, and he reciprocated those feelings. However, the timing was never favorable, which is why he chose to hide his emotions. Miss Sia seemed amused by this revelation, telling him that she finally understood why he used to share the bed with Meng Keo and ignored her hints all this time. Qin Hu playfully teased Meng Keo, expressing disgust, but Meng Keo defended their actions, emphasizing that they were merely discussing martial arts and practicing sword techniques. Unfortunately, Qin Hu teased Meng Keo even more when he told him they were just practicing sword techniques, expressing what it really meant, and assured him he would never tell anyone. Qin Hu continued to playfully tease Meng Keo, suggesting that their discussion on sword techniques would be the topic of their interviews once they escaped the place. Lin Chuan suddenly told Miss Sia to cut the nonsense and wanted her to answer if she would help him or not. Miss Sia firmly stated that she would definitely not help him. He grew angrier when she told him he wouldn't understand because they were really not of the same kind. Somebody like him, self-deprecating and arrogant, would never comprehend their perspective. Lin Chuan was left speechless, taken aback by Miss Sia's words. Lin Chuan felt a sharp pain, shaking his head, but then he looked at Miss Sia and simply said he didn't care and didn't need to understand because she would end up helping him anyway. Confused by Lin Chuan's words, Miss Sia found herself at a loss, but her attention swiftly shifted when she spotted the white ghost quietly advancing toward her prone figure. The white ghost locked its gaze onto Miss Sia's eyes, and she too was unwillingly locked into the monster's eyes. Enchanted by the allure of those captivating eyes, Miss Sia found herself irresistibly drawn to their beauty. Recognizing the white ghost's attempt to manipulate Miss Sia, Manhwa determined that swift action was necessary, resolving to eliminate the threat by killing the monster now. Perplexed, Kinhu questioned the white ghost's capacity to control minds, pondering how an entity with the sole power of crafting illusions could exert such influence over people. Manhwa clarified, revealing that high-level super beasts, such as Zyobai, the white ghost, wielded multiple abilities, encompassing both the creation of illusions and mind control. Currently, the white ghost's mind manipulation is relatively weak, while Miss Sia's formidable power appears to resist its influence effectively. In its attempt to brainwash her, the white ghost would need to expend a substantial amount of its energy, rendering itself vulnerable in the process. With the monster weakened by the energy expenditure, they could execute a decisive strike, leaving only Lin Chuan as the remaining challenge for the trio to confront. Kinhu inquired about their odds of success, prompting Manhwa to adopt a serious demeanor as he calculated, only to deliver a nonsensical answer of 100% chance. Dumbfounded by Manhwa's math skills, Kinhu jokingly questioned if he had learned math from his P teacher, to which Manhwa responded with a chuckle, admitting he might have. Kinhu, considering their options, proposed abandoning the confrontation and instead escaping to report the crimes to the Exalted Tower, letting the authorities handle the situation. Manhwa, reflecting on Kinhu's suggestion, realized that it might be the same strategy that had saved Kinhu in the past. But he remained hesitant, wary of risking the ongoing war on the northern front. Feeling the weight of responsibility, Manhwa stressed the necessity of immediate action, underscoring that the safety of their loved ones and Draken hung in the balance. There was not much time to call for reinforcement, and now he is the only one who can save Draken. Kinhu hesitated to embrace Manhwa's suggestion, but appeared gradually swayed by the persuasive conviction in his words. Ultimately yielding to Manhwa's unconventional plan, Kinhu, finding it challenging to resist the persuasive force, inquired about their next course of action. The devised plan entailed Manhwa aiming the grenade launcher at the white ghost, while Kinhu seized the opportunity to spring into action. Surprisingly, Miss Sia appeared aware of their rescue mission. As Manhwa aimed the launcher, her gestures seemed to convey a plea for him to stand down. Following a brief pause, Miss Sia remained silent, giving the impression that she was portraying a sense of calm, as if signaling that everything was now okay. Her gaze shifted towards Lin Chuan and told him he was right. She confirmed that the vein's abundance of Ruby Jade was sufficient for all three. She revealed ambitions to ascend to the highest seat of power in Dynasty with their combined efforts. Both of them were happy, especially Lin Chuan, since Miss Sia finally understand that once they complete all of this, they would be the same kind and be together forever. Miss Sia happily embraced Lin Chuan's envisioned future, affirming that she, too, could sense the same promising destiny unfolding before them. Pointing below, Miss Sia indicated the location of the Ruby Jade vein and urgently urged Lin Chuan to take swift action, fearing that another team might discover it before they did. Agreeing with determination, Lin Chuan swiftly prepared the harness needed for their descent to the Ruby Jade vein below. Eagerly, Lin Chuan spurred his newly formed team into action, urging them to move swiftly and accomplish their mission. With determination, Miss Sia and Lin Chuan descended the cliff using the prepared harness. The towering height of the cliff rendered Miss Sia and Lin Chuan invisible to anyone looking down, disappearing from view as they descended to the hidden depths below. Conversely, Manhwa and Kinhu ascended above the cliff. Exhausted from the demanding descent, Manhwa and Kinhu found themselves breathless upon reaching the top, gasping for air after the strenuous climb. As Kinhu recuperated from exhaustion, he abruptly turned to Manhwa and posed a sudden question. Curious, Kinhu inquired why Manhwa hadn't pulled the trigger. Manhwa clarified that Miss Sia was aware of their presence all along, prompting restraint in their approach. Despite Manhwa's explanation, Kinhu struggled to believe the revelation, dismissing it as impossible. Manhwa urged Kinhu to believe, citing Miss Sia's encouragement for Lin Chuan to disclose his vulnerabilities and things that showed what was truly bothering him. Kinhu questioned if Manhwa was suggesting that Miss Sia sought to uncover a weakness in Lin Chuan's mind to free him from the white ghost's mental control. Affirming Kin-Hu's insight, Menkeo proceeded to elaborate on their predicament, shedding more light on the intricate details of their situation. Below the cliff near the Ruby Jade vein, numerous diverse beasts inhabited the area. He emphasized that traversing through them would demand a substantial amount of physical strength and energy. The discovery of the Ruby Jade vein brought a silver lining. The magnetic energy field interference weakened the White Ghost's mind control and diminished Lin Chuan's strength, offering a strategic advantage. Menkeo assumed that Miss Sia intended for them to seize the opportunity, recognizing that the circumstances presented a favorable moment to take decisive action. Kin-Hu, with a serious demeanor, asked Menkeo if he genuinely trusted Miss Sia. Menkeo assured Kin-Hu of his trust in Miss Sia, expressing his willingness to collaborate with both him and her to bring a decisive end to the ongoing challenges they faced. After all, Menkeo was certain Miss Sia did not join forces with Lin Chuan in the past life. Otherwise, she would have not been an unknown person and Lin Chuan would not have met such a tragic fate here. Confused, Kin-Hu sought clarification from Menkeo, uncertain about the deeper meaning behind his statement. Menkeo, evading a detailed explanation, cryptically emphasized to Kin-Hu that time was of the essence. Menkeo urgently instructed Kin-Hu to search for weapons, potions, explosives, mining tools, or any useful resources in their surroundings. Together, they conducted a thorough inspection, diligently searching for the materials they needed. Kin-Hu thought that the White Ghost must be controlling Lin Chuan as he collected a familiar weapon. He said so given his unwavering focus on the Ruby Jade vein. Otherwise, he would not leave Shen Yulong's incredibly powerful Star Blade Furies. Menkeo believed they left the weapon behind because they prioritized the necessity for a considerable number of explosives over relying on a specific weapon. After inspecting the packages, Menkeo discovered that the weapons were still present, but all the crystal bombs were gone, implying that they must have taken those with them. Kin-Hu questioned the purpose of the crystal bombs, considering their impracticality for mining the Ruby Jade vein because it is one of the most unstable crystals among others. Suddenly, the realization dawned on them. The intention behind taking the crystal bombs was to blow up the entire vein. Panicked by the revelation, both Menkeo and Kin-Hu hastily reacted. Kin-Hu immediately lined up the blades on the floor in front of him. Requesting a brief reprieve, Kin-Hu asked Menkeo for 10 minutes to mend the Star Blade Furies, having accidentally cut his hand with one of the blades. Assuring Menkeo that he could restore the weapon's functionality within the given time, he promised to make it usable again. Menkeo agreed, setting a departure time of 10 minutes. While Kin-Hu was repairing Shen Yulong's Star Blade Furies, Menkeo seized the opportunity to replenish his energy, taking a moment to eat a piece of bread. Recognizing the critical importance of being in peak condition, Menkeo acknowledged that a decisive battle was imminent. Initiating the process of replenishing his energy and restoring his main meridians, Menkeo focused on acquiring essential skills, including Mindbreaker and Beast Blood Ignition. Upon completion of the restoration process, Menkeo experienced a sense of full recovery, his energy now surging and overflowing once more. Realizing the truth, Menkeo understood that Lin Chuan had packed the package for him as a means of escape, preventing him from witnessing Lin Chuan's vulnerable or ugly side. Devouring the food voraciously, Menkeo, in his mind, made a silent promise to Lin Chuan that he would bring him back to the right path. Suddenly, a mission presented itself: slay an infernal beast, promising rewards of 30,000 MEP, a connection with a dragon meridian, and the enhancement of any 3 skills by 1 level. Ecstatic about the reward, Menkeo understood the significance of the Dragon Meridian as the key for an Exalta to break through to a higher stage. He then realized that the White Ghost currently has only 3 tails, which mean it is not in its complete form, yet so it is still considered an infernal beast now. That mean that Menkeo really had a shot on killing that White Ghost and freeing his brother Lin Chuan from its mind control. With their equipment prepared, both Menkeo and Kin-Hu descended down the cliff, ready for the impending challenges ahead. Their descent was swift, and it didn't take them much time to reach the ground below. Upon reaching the ground, Menkeo immediately noticed the scent of blood in the air. Sensing danger, Menkeo urged Kin-Hu to keep his voice down and stay low, as they cautiously examined the area. Kin-Hu, irritated by Menkeo's instructions, felt angered, believing he knew what he had to do without being told. They discovered numerous carcasses of dead branch-toothed boas scattered across the area. Manhwa approached one of the lifeless bodies and examined its flesh. Kinhu, on edge, urged Manhwa to stop dawdling as the geothermal fluid was closing in on them. They would certainly lose them if they would not move faster. Ignoring the urgency, Manhwa persisted in assessing the injuries of the branch-toothed boas, discovering that both Lin Chuan and the White Ghost were injured, leaving Kinhu wonder how does he know. Manhwa then explained that Lin Chuan, being a perfectionist, typically finishes off his targets with a single, precise strike. However, as the battle prolonged, Lin Chuan's stamina started to diminish, causing a decline in the sharpness and accuracy of his strikes. In the end, Lin Chuan was unable to land a fatal blow with a single strike, and his left shoulder suffered a wound from a branch-toothed boa. Similarly, the White Ghost found itself in a challenging situation, not well suited for prolonged battles. Surrounded by the branch-toothed boas, the White Ghost's stamina dwindled, and eventually, one boa bit its left hind leg. Manhwa inferred the injury to the White Ghost's left hind leg by observing the meat taken from the mouth of the specific boa he was pointing out. After all, the elasticity of the skin varies across different parts of an ex-beast's body. Suddenly, Kinhu's demeanor turned serious, which made Manhwa ask him what was wrong. Kinhu suddenly realized the malicious intent of Shen Rongfa in pitting him against Manhwa. Determined, he vowed to give him a thorough beating if he managed to survive the ordeal. However, Kinhu swiftly reconsidered, thinking that his wife would be displeased if he carried out the revenge, prompting him to abandon the idea. Kinhu suggested to Manhwa that he could ask his father and the other harvesters to deliver the beating on his behalf, providing an outlet for his anger. Mr. Kinhu continued sharing his rather eccentric revenge plot with Manhwa, leaving him cringing at the audacity of the plan. After laying out his elaborate revenge plan, Kinhu finally asked Manhwa if he agreed to the proposed scheme. Without hesitation, Manhwa immediately affirmed his agreement. Now, armed with one more reason to fight, they set their sights on overcoming the White Ghost, determined to live on with a smile. The gap in the middle extends all the way down, and there are streaks of red light emerging from inside. There was also faint bloodstain and wolf fur there. Kinhu guessed that that must be the way to the main Ruby Jade vein. However, Manhwa disagreed with him, prompting him to come and take a look on the path on the left. Turns out that the White Ghost used wolf fur and blood stains in an attempt to confuse them, but Miss Sia secretly left some markings on the rock for him, a harvester, to see. This revelation affirmed Miss Sia's formidable nature. It hinted that she had engaged in a battle of wits with the White Ghost in her past life, although luck had eluded her as she lacked assistance back then. This time, the White Ghost would surely face its demise for underestimating the intelligence and determination of humans. Following the markings left by Miss Sia, they skillfully navigated through the terrain, successfully steering clear of potential dangers. Suddenly, both of them witnessed a bright red light emanating from a distance. Alongside the sighting of the bright red light, they felt a potent magnetic interference, a strong indication that they were very close to the Ruby Jade vein. Kinhu anticipated that it would significantly increase their chances of ascending to the next stage of fighting there. However, Manhwa requested him to wait a moment first. Prioritizing caution, Manhwa utilized a device to thoroughly assess their surroundings before deciding to proceed further. Meanwhile, Lin Chuan felt immense joy as they finally discovered the main vein of Ruby Jade, while Manhwa was spying on them using his device. Overwhelmed with joy, he contemplated the promising future this discovery held for the entire younger generation. He even imagined breaking through to the celestial stage and revolutionizing Draken. Contrastingly, Miss Sia's expression remained enigmatic as Lin Chuan envisioned a future where all the kids could compete equally and fairly under the sun's light. He was imagining of saving the Draken City and unite for equality. Repeating the words incessantly, it seemed as if Lin Chuan was on the verge of insanity, fixated on the vision he had envisioned while holding the bomb in his hand. Suddenly, Miss Sia realized that Manhwa and Kinhu had successfully reached their location. Interrupting Lin Chuan as he planted the bombs, Miss Sia questioned why he used so many explosives when the Ruby Jade vein couldn't be mined using such methods. Lin Chuan clarified that only by becoming a Celestial Exalted could he change Draken's future, and the Ruby Jade vein was crucial for his ascension to the Celestial stage. Attempting to bring Lin Chuan back to his senses, Miss Sia pointedly questioned if he was even aware of what he was doing while holding the crystal bombs in his hands. She told him that the beast never intended to use the Ruby Jade vein. All it wanted was to completely destroy the place. Miss Sia's revelation angered the white ghost, prompting it to rush towards her in a fit of rage. Caught off guard by the sudden aggression of the beast, Miss Sia found herself unable to react or dodge its impending attack. Suddenly, a splash of blood stained the area, marking the aftermath of the unexpected attack. But the blood was not Miss Sia's, it was from Lin Chuan, who took the attack, shielding her. Lin Chuan looked at Miss Sia as he bore the pain from the beast's bite. Then he turned to face the white ghost, looking disappointed. Blood continued to gush out from Lin Chuan's shoulder after the white ghost released its grip on him. It became evident that Lin Chuan and the white ghost had an agreement not to harm Miss Sia, but the white ghost blatantly violated this pact with its recent actions. Miss Sia, on the other hand, persistently attempted to free Lin Chuan from the white ghost's control, realizing that the beast was merely using him to destroy the vein. Growing angrier, the white ghost refuted Miss Sia's claim, insisting that it wasn't using Lin Chuan as a mere tool. It pointed that Draco's Celestial Fighter and Deluge Mountain Range's Calamity Beasts have to be eliminated to realize Lin Chuan's dream. It appeared that the white ghost was indeed exerting control over Lin Chuan, compelling him to launch an attack against Miss Sia. However, just before he could lay his hand on her, Lin Chuan abruptly stopped, as if some internal struggle momentarily overcame the white ghost's control. Lin Chuan seemed to retain a degree of control over himself as he refrained from harming Miss Sia despite the white ghost's influence. Suddenly, the beast headbutted Lin Chuan out of its way, displaying a forceful and unexpected action. Then it turned to Miss Sia, telling her she knew nothing. They have to destroy the vein. It is the only way to push Lin Chuan to the top of the world and fulfill his long-standing wish. Amidst the perilous moment of Miss Sia's potential demise, an unexpected attack from an unknown source intervened, preventing the beast from ending her life. As expected, the unexpected attacks originated from Manhwa and Qin who had entered the scene to disrupt the white ghost's lethal intentions toward Miss Sia. Manhwa urged Qin who to restrain Lin Chuan, and Qin who immediately agreed, having harbored a desire to confront and beat him up for a long time. At this critical juncture, Manhwa didn't care about Lin Chuan's ultimate goal. However, he was determined not to let him bring destruction to Draken. Lin Chuan urged Manhwa not to harm the white ghost, noticing that Manhwa had been relentlessly attacking the creature. On the contrary, Qin who called Lin Chuan's attention, declaring himself as the opponent and wielding Shen Yulong's Starblade Furies in a confrontational manner. Fueled by Manhwa's relentless attacks, the white ghost grew increasingly furious. Manhwa launched towards the beast, but it had already executed its own attack against him. With a sense of urgency, Miss Sia warned Manhwa to be cautious and watch out for the white ghost's illusion attack. Unfortunately, it appeared to be too late, and Manhwa seemed captivated by the white ghost's illusion. Manhwa found himself ensnared within the illusion crafted by the white ghost exclusively for him. The white ghost, appearing as if ready to engulf Manhwa whole, launched itself forward. However, Manhwa, undeterred and without hesitation, continued to advance. Manhwa unleashed the hellish descent for his counterattack. Witnessing the intense battle, Miss Sia and Qin, who were overcome with fear, worried that Manhwa might not survive the encounter with the ferocious beast. There was a silence in the area that seemed to last almost forever. But it did not last long when Manhwa finally broke the silence, freeing himself from the illusion created by the white ghost. He struck it with a gun in its right eye, wishing for its death. The white ghost let out a loud, agonizing sound in response to the severe pain caused by Manhwa's attack. On the other hand, Lin Chuan's right eye also burst out, mirroring the white ghost's, as if their bodies were magically linked to each other, leaving him in shock. Lin Chuan recovered quickly, but still endured the pain in his eyes when Qin who called for his attention, hoping he would duel with him alone while the others fought with the white ghost. But Lin Chuan did not even look at him, which angered Qin who so much. Instead, he rushed towards the white ghost and urged Manhwa and Miss Sia to stop attacking it. Manhwa informed Miss Sia that the white ghost was not dead yet and urged her to hurry. Miss Sia nodded in understanding, realizing her task was to deliver the final blow to the beast. She then channeled her power and cast a spell, summoning a stone snake with multiple heads and fierce red eyes that rushed immediately toward the white ghost. The snake simultaneously attacked the helpless white ghost by biting it, leaving it even more vulnerable. Lin Chuan's world almost crumbled into thin air as he witnessed how the white ghost suffered from their relentless attacks. Just like what happened earlier, the damage taken by the white ghost also manifested on Lin Chuan's own body. The white ghost then collapsed from the damage. It was so weak that its tongue uncontrollably hung out of its mouth, while Lin Chuan stared at it in despair. He then placed his forehead against the beast's forehead, asking it not to worry no more. He slowly stood up and promised the beast that he would not falter this time. All of a sudden, Lin Chuan seemed to be absorbing something from the beast. Meng Ko then figured out that the beast was not dead yet, and was using the bloodmark roselle to fuse with Lin Chuan. Miss Sia, on the other hand, was asking him if there was a way for them to stop it. Lin Chuan promised himself as well as the beast that he would realize their dream, and he continued to fuse with the beast. Qin Hu tried to use his sword to stop Lin Chuan from merging, but Lin Chuan's defenses were too powerful to break. Meng Ko immediately tried to acquire some skills that could be helpful in their current situation. He acquired the Mind Breaker skill and Beast Blood Ignition skill. After doing so, he immediately informed everyone that he had a plan, but he only had one chance to do it properly. However, it seemed like it was too late for them to stop the fusion, as it was almost done after Lin Chuan released a powerful force around the area. Lin Chuan then called Meng Ko and Miss Sia slowly, telling them they could have lived. He also told them that they were the ones responsible for his actions, pointing out that they made him do what he did. Lin Chuan was different now. He had a human body, but a face that resembled the white ghost. He let out a fearful expression as he threatened them to witness the terror of illusions and perish together with the Ruby Jade vein. All of a sudden, Meng Ko noticed that it was engulfing him and wondered if it truly was the power of a nightmare-class X-Beast. Lin Chuan even laughed hard as he witnessed them suffer, expressing a desire for everyone to die for Draken City. Meng Ko then realized that the white ghost's illusion attack got stronger after fusing with Lin Chuan. The vines from the Bloodmark Roselle slowly circled and squeezed Meng Ko, immobilizing him. In a state of despair, Meng Ko found himself unable to break free from the constricting vines of the Bloodmark Roselle, leaving him powerless and trapped. All of a sudden, it seemed like Meng Ko found himself in a whole new world, suspended in the middle of a vast and unknown realm. Beside him, a massive, wild creature that resembled Lin Chuan's new form explained that the black tortoise wasn't Zhong Yu's beast, shaking Meng Ko's newfound reality. The imprint Master Zhong Yu planted in his mind is fighting against the illusion. Out of nowhere, a dragon lunged and bit Lin Chuan, a surprising twist in the tale that unfolded for Meng Ko. The sudden event shattered the illusion, freeing everyone. Miss Sia, visibly shaken, and Qin Hu concernedly asked Meng Ko if he was okay. Finally, he managed to break free from the illusion. The challenge persisted. They got stronger after the fusion. Now, Meng Ko has to devise a plan to separate them once again. Meanwhile, Lin Chuan nursed a throbbing headache, disbelief written on his face as he realized they had successfully dispelled his illusions. He burst into laughter, insisting they were powerless as he proclaimed, with a chuckle, that it was already too late for them to do anything. Suddenly channeling his strength, Lin Chuan unleashed the power, causing vines to lash out in a forceful manner in every direction. The vines swiftly entwined themselves around the crystal bombs strategically planted by Lin Chuan on the cave walls. He laughed, mimicking the sound of an explosion, and proclaimed that their dreams could only come true by detonating the celestial parasites and calamity beasts. Meng Ko believed Lin Chuan had gone completely mad after merging with the white ghost. The skill he had mentioned earlier seemed to be their last hope in this desperate situation. Qin Hu urgently urged Meng Ko to quickly devise a plan, warning that they were at risk of being either blown up in the explosion or crushed by the collapsing rubble. Meng Ko felt about 90% confident in his plan, convinced it could break the fusion between Lin Chuan and the beast. However, he had to get up close to make it work. Qin Hu offered his assistance by clearing the path for Meng Ko, confident that Lin Chuan wouldn't notice him in his mentally compromised state. Meanwhile, Miss Sia explained that if Meng Ko succeeded in breaking the fusion, her Naga could take care of the white ghost. With everything seemingly in order, Meng Ko declared that the time had come to set their plan into motion. As Menkeo, Kinhu, and Miss Sia collaborated as a team, Lin Chuan grew increasingly irritated, finding them too annoying for his liking. With determination, he raised his weapon and declared that they would perish for what they had done. Suddenly, Kinhu appeared next to Lin Chuan, pointing his sword and taunting him about his handsome yet deceptive appearance. Lin Chuan attempted to sway Kinhu, highlighting their shared humble backgrounds, but Kinhu, without hesitation, asserted his indifference to Lin Chuan's plans. Kinhu unleashed a series of determined attacks, driven by the resolve to stop Lin Chuan's plans, as the destruction of the Ruby Jade vein would jeopardize his son and wife. He vowed not to let anyone harm his son and wife, fueling his unwavering determination in the fierce confrontation with Lin Chuan. As Lin Chuan grappled with Kinhu, Miss Sia focused on casting another spell, summoning the stone snake to aid them in the unfolding battle. As anticipated, the stone snake swiftly targeted Lin Chuan and the fire phoenix, lunging at him from behind and delivering a decisive bite. Turning to face Miss Sia, he questioned why she was aiding their cause, a perplexed expression on his face. Miss Sia, seemingly oblivious to Lin Chuan's inquiry, proceeded to cast another attack, unleashing a rock blast aimed directly at him. The force of the explosion sent Lin Chuan tumbling away, caught in the aftermath of the powerful rock blast. In the midst of the chaotic events, Menkeo hurriedly sprinted to approach Lin Chuan from behind, aiming to seize control of the situation. Caught off guard, Lin Chuan found himself entangled as Menkeo swiftly looped a rope around his neck. With a skilled maneuver, Menkeo managed to land on Lin Chuan's back, causing him to tumble to the ground. Without relenting, Menkeo pressed on, ensuring Lin Chuan's immobilization by securing the rope tightly around his body. With determination, Menkeo employed the skill known as the Mindbreaker, aiming to release Lin Chuan from the grip of insanity that had taken hold. Their voices echoed loudly as the struggle intensified, the clash of strength between the two creating a cacophony in the chaotic scene. As the fusion began to unravel, Lin Chuan, amidst the chaos, questioned Menkeo about using the weapon he had provided against him and the White Ghost. Lin Chuan's cries intensified as the White Ghost became separated from him, the tumultuous event echoing through the cavern. Following the separation, both the White Ghost and Lin Chuan lay on the ground, rendered powerless by the aftermath of the intense struggle. Menkeo put an end to the White Ghost and proclaimed that it was time to rouse Lin Chuan from his lack of consciousness. On the flip side, Lin Chuan gathered his remaining strength and managed to stand up, displaying resilience despite the challenging circumstances. Lin Chuan remained visibly angry at Menkeo's actions. With determination, Lin Chuan wielded his scepter in an attempt to harm Menkeo, who skillfully dodged the attack, urging him to cease the aggression. Despite Menkeo's plea, Lin Chuan persisted, insisting that he had done nothing wrong. He insisted that his actions were for the benefit of the common folk of Draken City. As a result of the impact, Menkeo crashed into the wall, the force of the collision reverberating through the cavern. Recovering from the impact, Menkeo conveyed to Lin Chuan that having the right principles mattered little if the execution was fundamentally flawed. Menkeo emphasized to Lin Chuan that destroying the vein would inflict the greatest suffering on the very common folks he claimed to care deeply about. However, Lin Chuan appeared unmoved by Menkeo's words, dismissing them as useless and remaining steadfast in his convictions. Particularly now, with the White Ghost fallen and sacrificed for his dream, Lin Chuan remained resolute in his pursuit, unmindful of the consequences. With a demeanor more unhinged than ever, Lin Chuan declared to Menkeo that his sole option was to forge ahead and persist on his chosen path, seemingly unsaid by reason. In response, Menkeo asserted that it was Lin Chuan who had ultimately caused the demise of the White Ghost, preventing it from leading a dignified and fulfilled existence. He accused Lin Chuan of transforming the White Ghost into a feared and despised entity, robbing it of the chance for a respected and honorable existence. He confronted Lin Chuan, questioning whether causing the White Ghost's death was not enough, and if he truly wanted to turn it into a destructive demon that would annihilate Draken. Despite the accusations, Lin Chuan remained steadfast in his belief that he had done nothing wrong, vowing to kill Menkeo for what he perceived as wrongdoing. Sensing the opportune moment, Menkeo aimed his gun at Lin Chuan and unleashed the Beast Blood Ignition skill, ready to execute his plan. His only hope rested on the power gained from the beast blood ignition, trusting that it would enable him to endure the powerful recoil of the cannon gun. And finally, he fired the cannon at Lin Chuan, unleashing the culmination of his plan. With a resounding bang, Lin Chuan was caught off guard, unable to mount any defense or response. Before his eyes, Lin Chuan witnessed the devastation brought by Meng Keo's skill. He witnessed the disappearance of the white ghost, its presence erased in the aftermath of the powerful attack. In a desperate attempt, Lin Chuan tried to cling to the last remnants of the white ghost's existence, but it was too late. Everything had vanished. Immediately afterward, Miss Seer rushed toward Lin Chuan, hoping to provide assistance in the aftermath of the intense ordeal. On the flip side, Qin, who assisted Meng Keo, recognizing that staying in that state would be a burden, he suggested using basic healing to address the immediate concerns. Assuring Qin Hu that he would be fine, Meng Keo instructed him to go help Sia and clear the way out. Qin Hu hesitated to do as Meng Keo said, accusing him of bossing around. Eventually, with a sense of urgency, Qin Hu implored everyone to hurry, emphasizing that they would all perish if the vein continued to explode. In unanimous agreement, everyone hastened their pace, propelled by the shared understanding of the impending danger. Qin Hu took the lead, inspecting the path, while Miss Sia and Meng Keo provided assistance to the still recovering Lin Chuan. Suddenly, Lin Chuan unexpectedly freed himself from being assisted by Meng Keo and Miss Sia, surprising them both with his sudden and unanticipated action. Not only did Lin Chuan break free, but he also shielded them from falling rocks that could have posed a threat. He then admitted they were right, acknowledging that he needed to atone for the mistakes he had made. Lin Chuan urged them to hasten and revealed his plan to detonate the passage, intending to buy them enough time for escape. As the rocks descended upon him, Lin Chuan offered a heartfelt apology to Meng Keo and Miss Sia for all that he had done to both of them, bidding them a final farewell. Meng Keo and Qin Hu accepted Lin Chuan's fate, though it was a tough pill to swallow. However, the loss was especially difficult for Miss Sia, grappling with the reality that Lin Chuan was now gone. Inside the cave, Lin Chuan planted more bombs on the walls, possibly setting the stage for another significant event. Turning sideways, Lin Chuan's face lit up, as if he had caught a glimpse of someone dear to him one last time before carrying out his final actions. At that moment, Lin Chuan envisioned seeing his father holding the second-hand teddy bear he had bought for him on his birthday, a gift never given directly, as his father had passed away. Even though he had never witnessed such a sight before, it became the last image etched in his memory, bringing him a sense of happiness as he faced his final moments. Finally, the cave exploded with him inside it. Meng Keo and Sia, amidst the aftermath of the explosion, would never have the chance to hear Lin Chuan's final apology for leading them into that perilous situation, along with his wish for them to live on and change Draken. In respect to Lin Chuan's sacrifice, Qin Hu, Meng Keo, and Miss Sia made a concerted effort to escape the rumbling cave as swiftly as possible. Suddenly, Meng Keo noticed a crack in the wall, with a blue light emanating from the opening, an unexpected discovery that piqued their curiosity. The three of them examined the opening closely, and Miss Sia soon realized it was a pure natural cave of azure primal stone. This revelation signaled their salvation. They considered themselves fortunate to stumble upon another hidden cave filled with precious gems just 100 meters from the Ruby Jade vein. However, the crevice proved a bit small for them. In an instant, Meng Keo urged them to move aside. Once Qin Hu and Miss Sia cleared the way, Meng Keo gathered his strength, readying himself to launch a powerful punch. Finally, he unleashed the punch with all his strength, striking the wall in an attempt to widen the crevice. However, the attempt proved fruitless, and the crevice remained unchanged. Qin Hu disagreed with Meng Keo's idea of using his body to widen the opening. Despite already seeming exhausted from the previous attempt, Meng Keo summoned the last of his strength and threw another punch at the wall, determined to make a way out. The punch was powerful, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough to widen the crevice. Qin Hu bluntly told Meng Keo that he was being foolish if he believed he could widen the gap just by using physical force. Undeterred, Meng Keo refused to give up, displaying a relentless determination that bordered on madness. Taking a brief pause to gather his strength, Meng Keo, determined as ever, unleashed another potent punch at the wall, hoping for a breakthrough. The punch was so forceful that the wall began to crack, indicating a potential breakthrough in their efforts. Eventually, it was revealed that the crevice had widened. Qin, who, astonished by Meng Keo's accomplishment, couldn't believe how he managed to achieve it. Without wasting any time, they swiftly entered the hidden cave. In the serene beauty of the cave adorned with numerous dazzling blue gems, the three of them lay on the ground, taking in the tranquil surroundings. Mesmerized by the enchanting beauty of the place, they couldn't help but be captivated, their awe even manifesting in drooling admiration. Qin, who observed that the pain from his wounds had significantly diminished, possibly influenced by the unique properties of the gems in the cave. Meng Keo then affirmed that the Azure Primal Stones possessed exceptional healing effects and a stable nature. Qin, who became curious about the implications of Meng Keo's statement. He picked up a gem and explained that if the magnetic energy interference of the Ruby Jade vein and Azure Primal Stone could neutralize each other, it can transform raging and destructive energy into absorbable energy. That natural mind would not be their tomb, but an unparalleled super training room. Qin, who cheered at the revelation, expressing that he had been waiting for such an encounter his entire life, and now it had finally come to fruition. However, Meng Keo cautioned against getting too excited just yet, hinting at potential challenges or consequences they might face. He turned towards the hole in the cave and emphasized the need to seal it, along with fortifying the crumbling wall facing the crevice first. Miss Sia discovered that the wall was too fragile. The plan was to allow the ruby energy to pass through a large quantity of primal stone, creating a chance for it to transform into absorbable life energy when it illuminated them. Meng Keo sought Miss Sia's permission to proceed with her suggested plan to seal the hole exclusively with the Azure Primal Stones. He then began to gather the Azure Primal Stones, preparing to implement the plan to seal the hole in the cave. One by one, he picked up the stones with the help of his sword. Eventually, Miss Sia and Qin, who joined Meng Keo in the tedious task of gathering the Azure Primal Stones for the important undertaking and stacking them to cover the hole. After a few minutes of concerted effort, they successfully sealed off the hole using the gathered Azure Primal Stones. With the hole sealed, their focus shifted to ensuring its stability. Miss Sia, utilizing her power, attempted to reinforce the seal, adding an extra layer of protection to it. However, her attempt to reinforce the seal failed, as she discovered that her inner energy had dried up, leaving her unable to exert the necessary power. With the wall still not entirely secure, they realized they needed to use their own bodies to support it temporarily, serving as a physical barrier to prevent any potential collapse. The trio then held onto the wall, with Meng Keo assuring Miss Sia that he would not allow it to collapse, emphasizing the importance of the 15% priority mining rights. Almost in tears, Meng Keo strained to hold the wall, passionately declaring that they needed to survive the challenging situation they found themselves in. The walls within where the Ruby Jade vein lay began to rumble, signaling potential danger and intensifying the urgency of their efforts to secure the cave. Exerting every ounce of their strength, the three of them struggled valiantly to prevent the seal from collapsing, fully aware of the potential consequences. Qin, who, straining under the pressure, informed the others that he couldn't hold on much longer. Miss Sia, feeling the overwhelming impact, also admitted that she couldn't hold on any longer. Meng Keo, contemplating the situation, believed that the only recourse to withstand the force might be basic healing. Clenching his feet tightly to the ground, Meng Keo made every effort not to lose his grip on the seal. Driven by a deep sense of urgency, Meng Keo was determined not to succumb in that perilous moment, especially with his parents waiting for him back home. Despite the formidable force bearing down on him, Meng Keo endured the pressure, displaying remarkable resilience in the face of the overwhelming challenge. In solidarity, the other two mirrored Meng Keo's determination, striving to preserve their prior efforts and prevent any wasted progress. Outside, the mountain where Meng Keo, Miss Sia, and Qin, who were located, suddenly exploded, releasing a massive surge of energy from its mouth. The people circling the area on their flying vehicles witnessed the explosion and, assuming victory, declared to themselves that they had emerged triumphant. In the aftermath of the explosion, they also declared that the war was finally over. 5 days later, at the Deluge Mountain Range, people were diligently collecting the bodies of the deceased beasts, transporting those using flying vehicles for disposal or other purposes. Amidst the ongoing activities, the reporter Yan Feru was conducting a news report covering the aftermath of the events and the cleanup efforts in progress. With the eruption of the crystal vein beneath the Deluge mountain range, their warriors have gained tremendous power. Many powerful earth and sky warriors have slain countless nightmare and infernal beasts, bringing a perfect conclusion to the war at the northern front. The next thing to do is to embark on the exploration and development of the newly opened land. While Mankeo was attentively watching the news report, Kin-Hu teasingly remarked that the news reporter was Mankeo's type. When Mankeo retorted, Kin-Hu burst into laughter. He jokingly told Mankeo that even though he had become a 2-star exalted, he still could not do such a thing to him since he would be a 5-star exalted after absorbing all the inner energy within him. Kin-Hu then told Mankeo that the reason behind his current position is attributed to having many friends, emphasizing the importance of not attempting to do everything alone. Digesting Kin-Hu's wisdom, Mankeo contemplated the idea of building his own team to contribute to the salvation of Draken. In the midst of their conversation, Mankeo grinned and confirmed to Kin-Hu that he was right. With a casual tone, he then offered Kin-Hu the chance to join him as his right-hand man. Perplexed, Kin-Hu struggled to understand Mankeo's intentions. To make things clearer, Mankeo told him he wanted them to join forces and embark on a new career together. Halting Mankeo, Kin-Hu proposed a strategy. If he successfully hooked Miss Sia, he could expedite his training by a significant 20 years. Kin-Hu urged Mankeo to seize the opportunity while Miss Sia was now lonely after Lin Chuan's death. However, Mankeo, puzzled, questioned why Kin-Hu wouldn't pursue the endeavor himself. Suddenly assuming an air of greatness, Kin-Hu asserted to Mankeo that he, being a married man, would never betray his beloved wife. Suddenly, echoing footsteps from outside interrupted the conversation. Simultaneously, they nervously turned their gaze toward the door as footsteps approached. Relief washed over them as they saw it was her, prompting a shared moment of wonder. Just after discussing her, Miss Sia arrived, exuding elegance in her attire and mask, and catching the attention of both with her graceful presence. Concerned and feeling a bit of awkwardness, Mankeo inquired if she was okay and questioned the reason behind her wearing a mask. She explained that her doctor had advised her to wear the helmet to filter out excessive information, as her senses had recently heightened by nearly tenfold. With clarity established, she instructed them to prepare, informing them that the Exib airship was ready to depart. The journey to Starcrush Lake would take approximately half an hour. Suddenly struck with realization, Mankeo asked Miss Sia to pause. He had just discovered that they were on an Exib airship. They quickly pieced together that Miss Sia belonged to Exib, the Exbeast Investigation Bureau, an organization dedicated to handling intelligent Exbeasts capable of infiltrating human society. Miss Sia confirmed that she had undergone a year of training at Exib, transforming from a mere miner into an investigator with combat abilities. Miss Sia extended an invitation for Mankeo to join Exib. Recognizing his loyalty and abilities from their operation, she assured him of promising prospects within the organization. Mankeo thought about joining Exib, realizing the organization might hold crucial information aligning with his fragmented memories, crucial in determining the outcome of the Exbeast War. As Mankeo appeared to be staring at something else, Kin-Hu teased him once more, urging him to hurry up, seize the golden opportunity, and say yes. After some contemplation, Mankeo finally realized that Kin-Hu was absolutely right. By associating with Miss Sia, he could accelerate his training progress by at least 20 years. Suddenly, as Miss Sia stood waiting for Mankeo's answer, she humorously asked if he had been checking out her legs. Startled, Mankeo denied with a hint of embarrassment, but then admitted he had been looking at her legs, clarifying it wasn't what she might think. As Mankeo stumbled through his explanation, Miss Sia cut him off, assuring him that there was no need to explain, as she had already heard everything. Miss Sia, with her heightened senses, was aware of Mankeo's thoughts regarding the potential benefits for him. She could hear every sound, even with the helmet on. In embarrassment, Mankeo declared he didn't know Kin-Hu well and confessed that he wasn't particularly fond of him. He even jokingly proposed deducting 2% from his mining rights. In response, Miss Sia assured Mankeo that she believed him. However, she emphasized the importance of mutual trust, urging him to trust her as much as she trusted him. Miss Sia clarified that her invitation for Mankeo to join Exib wasn't a replacement for Lin Chuan. Highlighting their distinct characteristics, Miss Sia emphasized that Mankeo was uniquely himself, and no one could mistake him for someone else. To unravel the puzzles in Menkeo's head, he realized he needed higher privileges and access to more information. Joining Exib seemed like a promising starting point for this quest. Menkeo agreed to join, but considering he was still in school, Miss Sia suggested he become an adjunct investigator like her. This would offer schedule flexibility, but he would be required to partake in secret missions to maximize his value. With everything settled, Menkeo expressed his reliance on Miss Sia, solidifying their newfound partnership. Meanwhile, deep within the Exbeast's mountain, mysterious-looking eggs began to crack, hinting at the imminent emergence of something unknown. Amidst numerous similar-looking eggs in the area, a sudden voice echoed, breaking the eerie silence. The voice conveyed a message, stating that the Phantom Wolf had failed. The message was addressed to someone or something called the Eye. In urgency, the voice instructed the Eye to pick up the pace, coinciding with the ominous spread of pink veins crawling within the surroundings. The veins continued to wriggle and squirm. Gradually, it became evident that the veins were connected to the Eye, and the voice speaking to it originated from the brain. Meanwhile, the Exib airships reached their destination, landing one by one on the ground. Miss Sia, Menkeo, and Kin who disembarked from one of the airships. She then told Menkeo that she had already informed his teacher and classmates about his return. She added that Menkeo should leave matters concerning the White Ghost and the Ruby Jade vein rewards to her. Menkeo smiled and expressed gratitude to Miss Sia for everything she had already done for him. Suddenly, Big Bear appeared, ecstatic to see Menkeo again. Without hesitation, he grabbed him and gave him a tight, enthusiastic hug, which made him unable to breathe for a moment. Helplessly gripped in Big Bear's embrace, Menkeo noticed something different about him. Big Bear, surprised, wondered how Menkeo had spotted the change so quickly. Big Bear then explained what had transpired in the Tombstone Forest while Menkeo was away. A 4-level infernal beast had forcefully pushed him into a crack. However, within the crack in the ground, there was a continuous flow of inner energy. Big Bear found himself immersed in this energy for an entire day and night, resulting in a total refinement of his being. Proud of the transformation, Big Bear beamed and asked Menkeo to take a guess at his current level. However, he did not even wait for Menkeo to guess. With excitement rushing, he immediately revealed that he had ascended to a 2-star exalted in the energy altar stage. Menkeo, with puppy eyes, beamed with pride for his brother Big Bear, telling him that he had always believed he could achieve such a feat. Suddenly, Xiao Giant King appeared and hit Big Bear on the head with her sword. She scolded him, telling him to stop boasting in front of Menkeo, who had already been through a lot. Zaifeng also appeared and spoke with Menkeo. He shared news about a breakthrough experienced by everyone in the battle, a result of the massive surge of inner energy. Menkeo finally revealed that he, too, had achieved a 2-star energy altar stage. He went on to explain how it happened, leaving everyone shocked by his unexpected progress. He explained that they were trapped inside after the explosion, absorbing an excessive amount of inner energy, and were subsequently compelled to undergo an unexpected breakthrough. As a result, Big Bear jokingly teared up, playfully accusing Menkeo of once again stealing the spotlight from everyone. While Menkeo was narrating his story, his teacher and Jiara Wu suddenly appeared. His teacher then inquired if he would be interested in participating in the freshman battle tournament organized by the 5 universities and Draken Yu. Curious, Menkeo expressed wonder about the tournament as if he had never heard of it before. He asked his teacher for more details while affectionately petting Jiara Wu on her head. His teacher then presented him with the details. The objective of the tournament was to defeat at least 5 overbreakers of the same level during the competition. Menkeo contemplated the rewards of the tournament, particularly the enticing prospect of acquiring a new exalted skill called Guile Thrust, taught by instructor Black Skeleton. While still petting Jiara Wu, Menkeo declared that he would participate in the tournament. He saw it as the perfect opportunity to showcase Daredevil to the public. Big Bear, Zaifeng, and Xiao Giant King expressed joy at the prospect of fighting alongside Menkeo once again. They aimed to defeat Draken Yu together. While the students were busy catching up, Miss Sia informed Menkeo that it was now time to say goodbye. On the other hand, Kin, who suddenly chimed in, teasingly stating that Menkeo was quite handsome too. In response, Miss Sia coldly warned Kin that if he didn't stop talking nonsense, he could kiss his share of the vein goodbye. This threat startled him. 1 month later, at their home, Xiao Cao was excited to turn on the television because the show she had been eagerly waiting for was about to start. Actually, she was waiting for the tournament. Xiao Cao then called her mom, who also expressed the desire to watch it live. Before joining Xiao Cao to watch the tournament, she sent a message to their neighbors, letting them know that Meng Kao would be participating in the freshman tournament this year. The announcer of the battle began speaking, signaling the start of the showdown. Meng Kao's family immediately gathered around the television, watching closely. The participants in the tournament were the newly emerged exalts from the 6 universities. The battle was broadcast with the help of drone cameras scattered around the forest. At this point in the tournament, the participants were already gathered inside, eagerly awaiting the commencement of the competition. Yan Feru, the tournament announcer, introduced one of the participants, Wang Dao from Darken Yu, known as the Super Rookie, to everyone. She requested an interview with him, asking about his thoughts on the transition from a 5v5 battle to a 100v100 melee in the Tombstone Forest. Wang Dao confidently responded that regardless of the challenge, the motto of Darken Yu's martial arts course was clear, which is one hit KO. Xiao Cao was captivated by the coolness of Wang Dao's team, and her mom reminded her that those individuals were opponents of her brother. She advised her to stop admiring them. The other announcer mentioned that there was a new emerging martial arts style in the 5 universities union known as Daredevil, which was said to be the natural enemy of Overbreaker. Xiao Jian King confidently responded, stating that all she could discern was that the days of Darken Yu's domination in the martial arts world were coming to an end. Xiao Cao noticed that Meng Kao was caught on camera. She felt a twinge of jealousy at Meng Kao's height growth, while her mother took a picture of him to send to their family. The announcers now declared that contestants from both sides were entering the Tombstone Forest, and the event was being broadcast live through drone cameras. The entrance of the contestants into the forest signaled the official start of the tournament. The camera showed Wang Dao battling Chu Feixing from the military academy's Heroic Spirits course. Spectators wondered if Wang Dao's punch would swiftly end and eliminate Feixing. Xiao Cao recognized that it was Big Bear who remained unsatisfied even after consuming 80 dumplings, prompting them to make another 2 bowls of instant noodles for him. On the other hand, it appeared that things wouldn't unfold as expected, as Feixing managed to stand up after enduring damage from Wang Dao. Wang Dao grew angry witnessing his opponent's determination. He pondered whether Chu Feixing would confront his finishing move head-on, or if he was hiding some sort of trump card. Chu Feixing had now transitioned to his military boxing first form. He was ready to execute his attack called Lunge Punch. The announcers were both shocked by this development, pondering whether Chu Feixing's military boxing would truly be effective against Wang Dao's Overbreaker. All of a sudden, Chu Feixing was seen flying up and away after Wang Dao punched him with incredible force. The announcers expressed disappointment at what happened, but still commended Feixing for the courage he displayed, despite being sent flying by Dao's punch. However, they soon realized that Feixing had not given up and stood up once again. Sarcastically, he asked if that was what Overbreaker punches were supposed to be. As he spoke sarcastically, Wang Dao rushed towards him and launched an attack, causing him to be eliminated. He promised Wang Dao that he was certain Meng Kao would avenge him. The announcers once again expressed disappointment in Chu Feixing's apparent arrogance and foolishness. Yan Feru mentioned that Meng Kao was a participant from the 5 universities union and a direct disciple of Gu Jianbo, the founder of the Daredevil style. The other announcer then instructed the director to switch the camera to Meng Kao to see what he was up to. However, the camera showed only trees, and there was no sign of Meng Kao. They wondered whether the positioning system had encountered an issue, and so they tried to reposition again. From the top view, they noticed something in the trees and requested to zoom in on the spot. They were shocked by what they saw. It was Meng Kao, dressed in a tree costume and utilizing the trees to conceal himself. He was angry at the cameras and announcers for exposing him from his hiding place. He quickly ended his hiding and swiftly moved to another location. The announcers couldn't believe what they just witnessed and conveyed to the viewers that Meng Kao was truly exceptional while trying to put a smile on to hide their disappointment. Xiao Cao also seemed disappointed by her brother. However, her mom was embarrassed by him, asking Xiao Cao how to unsend the message she had sent to their neighbors. In the midst of the action, Xiao Jianqing appeared to effortlessly excel at slaying her enemies with each move, showcasing her skill and precision. Her enemies struggled to cope with her formidable skills, finding it challenging to counter her every move. Swiftly, one by one, they were washed away by her tremendous strength. The announcers couldn't believe that a heroic spirit envoy like her could wield such power. The daredevil style seemed to have significantly enhanced her abilities, and she was rapidly approaching Wang Dao's impressive kill count. However, Draken Yu realized that Jianqing was not someone to be trifled with, and she was currently spearheading a well-organized counterattack. In that spur of the moment, Xiao Jianqing abruptly raised her sword, displaying sheer greatness and bravery. Then, she suddenly struck the ground with her sword, channeling all her remaining strength into a forceful blow. Very unexpectedly, her HP dropped significantly due to the forceful action she took. Xiao Jianqing's strength was depleted to the point where she was considered dead due to exhaustion. It was a shame, but the announcers expressed confidence that she would surely regain the glory of the Valkyrie and emerge as the leading figure of the Golden Generation in a few years. Meanwhile, a rustling sound emanated from the grass as someone hurriedly made their way, running towards a destination. In a desperate pursuit, the man found himself being relentlessly chased by Jiara Wu, accompanied by Leopard from Agri-Yu. These two formidable figures were hailed as the last hope of the Five Universities Union. Their duo operated like a ghost team, able to materialize seemingly out of thin air, rendering them a formidable and unpredictable opponent, not to mention their exceptional stamina. As of now, Wang Dao leads the scoreboard with an impressive 15 kills, closely followed by Jianqing, who unfortunately got eliminated, making the other rookie from both sides to be more cautious. Jiara Wu holds the third spot, trailed by Meng Keo and Zhu Sheng securing the fifth position. Yan Feru wondered how Meng Keo had acquired 4 kills since they hadn't witnessed it in the footage. They promptly attempted to retrieve the footage to review what happened. After reviewing the footage, they discovered that Meng Keo had managed to simultaneously take down 4 opponents using his strategy of hiding and executing abrupt, calculated attacks. Yan Feru seemed to have no other choice but to explain his strategy, which involved concealing his presence and going for a sure kill akin to an assassin. Once again, Meng Keo found himself on the verge of securing his 5th kill as he lurked behind a lone figure, ready to execute his stealthy approach. While he succeeded in securing the kill, the announcers soon realized that it was just a trap for him. Meng Keo found himself surrounded by adversaries, the tables turning against him. The announcers perceived it as a dire situation for Meng Keo, especially considering his proficiency in sneak kills. They fear that he might be eliminated soon in the tournament. Suddenly, a man with an overflowing aura made a dramatic appearance in the vicinity. It was Wang Dao, actively seeking out Meng Keo. He promptly confronted Meng Keo face to face, challenging him to determine which of them was the stronger contender. As if in agreement, Meng Keo smirked at Wang Dao, displaying confidence. Without hesitation, he channeled his strength and assumed a perfect stance, ready for the impending confrontation. Yan Feru couldn't contain his excitement as he observed Meng Keo prepare to face Wang Dao head-on. At the perfect moment, Meng Keo swiftly sprinted, appearing ready to eliminate anyone in his path with decisive intent. And then, unexpectedly, he burst into laughter, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling, almost sinister gladness. However, it was disappointing to discover that Meng did not run towards Wang Dao's direction, but rather in the opposite direction, seemingly attempting to escape. Once again, the announcers gazed at their screens with disappointment evident on their faces as Meng Keo's actions left them unable to utter a single word. Similarly, his entire family was shocked by what he did. Xiao Kao even attempted to gaslight herself, insisting it wasn't that embarrassing, though it was evident that it clearly was. Just like the others, Wang Dao found himself unable to utter a single word and was left there, hanging in stunned silence. Wang Dao's disappointment and anger reached a boiling point. In a burst of frustration, he loudly yelled Meng Keo's name. Determined to provoke Meng Keo into a confrontation, Wang Dao unleashed his powerful Blazing Sun strike skill, hoping it would force Meng Keo to halt his attempt to escape. In a swift and skillful move, Meng Keo evaded Wang Dao's attack with a perfectly executed dragon thrust, seamlessly transitioning into the agile Mad Tiger dance skill. Meng Keo, determined to escape Wang Dao's relentless attacks, showcased remarkable perceptiveness. Anticipating Wang Dao's moves, he skillfully evaded every assault. Soon, the announcers noticed a cliff ahead in Meng Keo's path. They speculated if he intended to leap through the waterfall, making a daring escape through the deep pool and river below. Confidently reaching the cliff's edge, Meng Keo made a daring leap, diving fearlessly through the air. Refusing to let Meng Keo escape, Wang Dao relentlessly pursued him. Employing his Star Shatter strike skill, he chased after Meng Keo with determined intensity. Unexpectedly, Meng Keo grinned slyly and whispered to himself, revealing his anticipation of Wang Dao falling into his carefully laid trap. In a swift move, he plunged his sword into the cliff's wall, securing a strategic position. Stabbing the cliff wall weakened the ground beneath Wang Dao. Meng Keo then proceeded down the cliff, confident that his trap would soon play out. The announcers quickly grasped that Meng Keo's apparent leap off the cliff was a clever ruse, a well-set trap. Meanwhile, before Wang Dao could realize it, Meng Keo's rope had cleverly entwined around his right leg, subtly connecting them in an unexpected twist. Completing its circle around Wang Dao's leg, the other end of the rope with the sword firmly lodged itself into the ground, effectively locking him in place. All of a sudden, Meng Keo ascended from the cliff, using his rope to draw closer, brandishing his sword at the immobilized Wang Dao, who found himself unable to move. Meng Keo seized the opportunity and launched an unrelenting assault, leaving Wang Dao with no chance to construct his magnetic field. As Meng Keo relentlessly launched a barrage of attacks on Wang Dao, the ground beneath them began to crack and shatter, adding an element of suspense to their intense showdown. Amidst the crumbling rocks and debris, both Meng Keo and Wang Dao tumbled down the cliff, plunging into the river below in a chaotic descent. Submerged in the water, both Meng Keo and Wang Dao disappeared from sight, leaving the outcome of their intense confrontation hanging in suspense. After a tense interval, both Meng Keo and Wang Dao emerged from the water. Both of them continued huffing, visibly fatigued and exhausted from the intense duel and the ordeal they had just faced in the water. After exchanging glances for a while, they both wearily lowered themselves to the ground, surrendering to the need for rest and recovery after their strenuous encounter. In a surprising turn of events, the announcers discovered a twist that added an unexpected layer to the unfolding spectacle. Both drained of strength, they were considered as strength depleted and killed, which resulted in a draw. That means Meng Keo had successfully achieved a tie with Wang Dao, the dominator. Lying on his back, Meng Keo received a message declaring his rewards for the victory, a new skill, the Guile Thrust, now unlocked and at his will. As he contemplated their win at the Northern Front War and the success of his daredevil, he realized that it was different from the fragments of memories he had which worried him somehow. Suddenly, a new mission message appeared, unveiling a quest surrounding the mystery of the demon gods. Realizing the activation of the mission related to the demon gods, Meng Keo understood it signified an imminent and formidable counterattack from the demonic forces. Confirming his suspicions, Meng Keo realized that the formidable opponents in the next stage would be the 8 demon gods. A formidable challenge lies ahead. Adding to the uncertainty, Meng Keo discovered that not only were the opponents formidable, but the mission's difficulty and rewards remained not disclosed in the mission message. At the moment, he did not have much information about the mission yet, so he could only play by ear. He then figured he should start with Exib first. On the other side, Yanferu marveled as Meng Keo rose to his feet within minutes of the intense battle's conclusion. The prowess of the daredevil left a lasting impression on her. Meng Keo's classmates erupted in cheers, celebrating his accomplishment and the agricultural university's triumph in the tournament. Their joy was profound, as it had been a decade since they last tasted victory over Draken University, making the triumph even more gratifying for Meng Keo's classmates. The reporters were equally thrilled, eager to conduct an interview with Meng Keo immediately after the victory, capturing the excitement surrounding his remarkable achievement. When asked about tying with the top scorer in the college entrance exam, Meng Keo acknowledged the opponent's strength. He immediately said he was not as strong as him. When questioned about his future plans post the Wang Dao victory, Meng Keo suddenly asked if the interview was broadcasted live, and the reporters said it was. In a heartwarming moment, Meng Keo smiled at the camera and addressed his mom, expressing his desire for some hog bones amid the public celebration. Meng Keo's mom, watching with tears at home, wished for her son's safe return. Xiao Cao, raising her hands in excitement, joined in, expressing her own desire for hog bones too. Meng Keo's mom promptly acknowledged their request, assuring them that she would make sure to get some hog bones for them later. 7 days later at the Celestial Garden State. In the residence, a guy named Jin skillfully played with 3 tigers, impressing the 2 other guys who were delighted about successfully introducing the tigers to a new companion. Curious, the 2 other guys approached Jin, who was lying on the ground. They were puzzled, wondering why he would choose to rest in a seemingly dirty spot. Upon closer inspection, they discovered the shocking reality of what was happening, leaving them utterly surprised and astounded. To their horror, they realized that the tigers were not playing with Jin, but in fact were devouring his lifeless body like wild beasts, a gruesome revelation. As the tigers noticed the 2 other guys, their gaze turned menacing, as if harboring a desire to kill and devour them next, intensifying the chilling atmosphere. The hunger in the tigers' eyes was evident, signaling that they were not satiated and craved more. In mere seconds, blood scattered in the area. Back at Meng Keo's house, his mother requested him to indulge in more meat as she put the meat in his bowl. Since he was an exalted, she thinks he need more nutrition than ever. Xiao Cao complained, expressing her need for assistance, citing that she was still growing, while Meng Keo, being an adult, seemed to have fewer dietary concerns. During dinner, a news report on the television aired accidents involving pets killing their owners. Xiao Cao reiterated her frustration, expressing annoyance that her father continued to watch disturbing news during meals, dampening the enjoyment of her dining experience. Meanwhile, Meng Keo inquired with his father about their company and offered assistance. His father mentioned the current shortage of manpower. Meng Keo suggested acquiring R3, pointing out that they still possessed various equipment and had contracted harvester teams available. However, his father expressed concern about Qin Hu's influence, considering his position behind R3, which added an additional layer of worry to the situation. But Meng Keo reassured his father, urging him not to worry about Qin Hu. He revealed that Qin Hu expressed a desire to be like an older brother to him, alleviating some of the concerns. After a few days, Meng Keo's father was pleasantly surprised to learn that Qin Hu had agreed to the acquisition of R3, marking a positive development in their business strategy. Recognizing the benefits, Qin Hu agreed to the acquisition, bringing satisfaction to Meng Keo as he fulfilled Qin Hu's desire to be his subordinate in the process. However, it appeared that Meng Keo had noticed a potential problem as he gazed at the man behind him. He conveyed that he didn't mind everyone on board, but there was a condition: they had to exclude that man. The man was annoyed at Meng Keo, so he called him a brat. In response, Qin Hu swiftly slapped him across the face, cautioning him to watch his words in the future. Meng Keo remarked that it was a bit harsh, but underneath, he couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction at Qin Hu's decisive action. Regarding Qin Hu's wife, he might need Meng Keo's help to explain the acquisition to her. Besides, Qin Hu had already informed her about losing his influence. With that, Meng Keo commended him for his skill in spouting nonsense without batting an eye. Qin Hu, on the other hand, told him to stop flattering him since it was just wisdom that comes with age. All of a sudden, Meng Keo received a phone call. It was Mr. Ning, and he asked Meng Keo if he had time to come to Soulforge Genetics. He also mentioned that he would introduce him to his senior, Gao Yi. It was perfect timing for Meng Keo, as he was about to finish his tasks there. He was also excited about meeting Gao Yi, the founder of Soulforge Genetics. In a matter of minutes, Meng Keo had finally reached the Exbeast's Research Institute, swiftly arriving at his intended destination. He would be escorted inside by a girl named Zushi, who had been waiting for him outside the facility. Zushi promptly informed Meng Keo that Gao Yi had been eagerly awaiting his arrival inside. They utilized the elevator to ascend to the 13th floor. Her grandfather had been invited to see the sandworm experiment. Gao Yi, having heard about Meng Keo's remarkable harvesting techniques, expressed a genuine desire to meet him. In addition, Gao Yi mentioned that he needed Meng Keo's assistance, leaving him in a state of confusion and curiosity. Finally, they arrived, and Mr. Ning appeared excited to meet Meng Keo in person. Without wasting a second, he immediately introduced Gao Yi to Meng Keo, initiating the meeting without delay. Gao Yi expressed joy at seeing Meng Keo and extended an invitation for him to witness the injury inspection of a biogenetic pet, recognizing his extensive knowledge about exbeasts. Deep in thought, Meng Keo contemplated Gao Yi's appearance, finding him different from what he had imagined. He also pondered the idea of inviting experts for what seemed like a minor issue. Mr. Ning finally explained the situation, revealing that 3 biogenetic pets created by Soulforge had unexpectedly gone berserk on the same day, resulting in the tragic deaths of their owners. Meng Keo appeared surprised by this revelation, absorbing the unexpected and unsettling information provided by Mr. Ning. On the other hand, Gao Yi exclaimed, vehemently declaring that it was all lies and insisting that the biogenetic pets he developed were inherently safe. To support his claim, Gao Yi made them watch the safety experiment he conducted for the cyan tiger he had developed, providing tangible evidence of the safety of his creations. The video showed the fate of the biogenetic pets he created if they wanted to hurt their owners. Gao Yi voiced his suspicion, suggesting that Skyward Machinery might be behind the incidents to secure the contract for the underwater excavation of the Vermilion Dragon River. Expressing frustration, Gao Yi noted that after the sandworms, now the biogenetic pets were targeted. He pondered on what methods Skyward Machinery might employ next. On the other hand, Meng Keo was confused as he had no prior knowledge about the sandworms. In response to Meng Keo's confusion, Gao Yi asked him to follow, leading the way to potentially shed light on the situation. He then narrated the story behind the giant sandworms they had created, emphasizing that they were designed specifically for waste management and had always been stable. But a little over half a month ago, several sandworms at Landfill 4 suddenly went out of control and escaped. Fortunately, during the sandworm incidents, there were no casualties, a contrast to the current situation with the biogenetic pets. Gao Yi expressed intense fury towards Skyward, condemning their actions that included endangering lives to achieve their goals. While Meng Keo absorbed the information and processed it, he appeared to be forming his own conclusions about the intricate situation at hand. Meng Keo stared at the giant sandworms in front of him for a moment. Upon gazing at the giant sandworms, a sudden rush of thoughts and worries flooded Meng Keo's mind, possibly connecting the dots or raising concerns about the broader implications. The chaos caused by the giant sandworms unfolded, bringing terror to the citizens and wreaking havoc in their wake. A message popped up, indicating that the progress on unraveling the mysteries of the demon gods had reached 1%. Meng Keo, Mr. Ning, and Zushi continued their journey toward the Exbeasts Research Institute test site number 3. Mr. Ning informed them that Professor Sun Yufeng, also known as the Shadowless Flying Blade, would be in charge of that day's dissection and injury inspection. He then cautioned them to be careful with their words when speaking to Professor Sun Yufeng later, hinting at the professor's potentially sensitive nature or demeanor. Before entering the room, they took the precaution of sanitizing their entire bodies, ensuring a sterile environment for the upcoming dissection and injury inspection. Additionally, they donned their safety equipment, further ensuring protection. Mr. Ning asked if they were ready, and upon confirmation, they proceeded inside. Upon entering the room, they encountered 3 gentlemen. One of the men expressed surprise, stating that he never expected the renowned Venerable Divine Hand, Ning Shuo, to become involved in this situation merely for monetary reasons. Meng Keo retorted to the man, stating that some individuals are solely focused on money. The man replied to Meng Keo, challenging him and stating that being an internet celebrity didn't grant him the license to speak nonsense to him. In response, he threatened to ruin Meng Keo's career, growing even angrier when Meng Keo encouraged him to go ahead, expressing that it was expected behavior from someone like him. The quarrel came to an end when Sun Yufeng himself commanded them to stop. He then inquired if anyone had objections before commencing the inspection of the biogenetic pets. Silence echoed in the room after Sun Yufeng's statement, indicating a consensus with no objections to proceed with the inspection. Following this, the 2 other men started whining, urging Sun Yufeng to expose Soulforge's unethical practices and unveil the truth. Zushi, still displeased with their behavior, intervened and demanded they cease their actions, addressing them as scoundrels. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to contribute further, you can now buy me a coffee. Every little bit helps in creating more quality content for you. Just click the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video.